EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mack, John McMullen. Just 2+ days, everybody, and counting. 2 days and 12 hours. We'll be preparing for kickoff with the Eagles versus the Cowboys to kick off the 2025 NFL season. Johnny Mack, how you doing on this Tuesday morning, brother?
Good. I'm glad you mentioned Tuesday because I don't know what day it is at this point.
Johnny Mack's working hard, man.
Yeah.
All through Labor Day, Johnny Mack. The grind is on with the Philadelphia Eagles, and as we just mentioned, 2+ days out. How you feeling, John? As we get ready for this game, 2.5 days from now.
Yeah, trying to get my bearings. Boy, I wish it were a Sunday game, but it is what it is. Thursday night. I'm not the biggest fan, but that's what happens when you're the Super Bowl champions. And standalone game against the Dallas Cowboys should be exciting. But yeah, I'd prefer it to be a normal NFL week, but that's not going to be part of the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of weird games this year.
No, absolutely, John, and I will take it all the way. A Thursday night game, which means we were Super Bowl champs last year. John, coming off that Super Bowl champion, Eagles have a lot of high expectations for the season, a lot of excitement in the air around the Philadelphia region and all over for Eagles fans everywhere. So we will be here with you guys all season long to cover everything, soup to nuts, top to bottom. For the Philadelphia Eagles, I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here this morning. Don't forget to hit that like button. The views are going back up with the season, so thanks.
Yeah,
everybody.
I don't know. You got to fix my thing. I don't know what happened, but I can't see the.
That's because you're logged out. That's what happened. You got logged out of your stream. I had you on a StreamYard co-host account, and I think it booted you out, John. So I gotta get that fixed for you. We'll get that fixed for tomorrow's show.
I'm flying blind when it comes to.
You can see the comments. Can you see the comments?
I can see the comments, yeah.
All right, so
I don't want to see the comments.
You can see the knuckleheads, John. Yeah. John, we got some updates, though, yesterday. First injury reports came out from both the Eagles and the Cowboys. Definitely some things to note with the Eagles. And then also about big news for, not big, but just something to discuss is Saquon Barkley landed as the #1 overall NFL player on the as voted by the players. Yeah. So nothing crazy, but it's pretty cool to see an Eagle.
Well, the disrespect for the Philadelphia Eagles continues.
John.
The immense disrespect for this franchise and this organization is it's crippling. Really,
they led the league, John, in top 100.
Yeah, led the league in top 100, #1 overall. I believe Saquon jumped from 86 to #1, so that's your difference between the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. But yeah, not a good day for the disrespect people.
No, but good. Congrats to Saquon Barkley for topping that list. And John, the one thing I thought about immediately is how you have been saying, and I was surprised to hear you say this earlier, but you've been saying you think Saquon's headed to the Hall of Fame because of the lure of the play. He doesn't really have – I mean, if you look at his career, he doesn't really have the Hall of Fame resume yet. I know what he did last year was amazing, but obviously was a little bit crippled with his start in the Giants. And I immediately thought of that comment by you because, you get #1 overall in the NFL. That's probably going to add to it a little bit, just the lure of the player. So I think you were on the money with you saying he's already a Hall of Fame player.
He's one of – I always talk about it when you talk about great players, what really sets them apart is their peers and what they think of them. So, he's one of those players they're in awe of for his obvious athletic ability, his unique blend of speed and power, which is rare. And yeah, I mean, that's happened since day one. That's why it was the 2nd overall pick from Penn State. And it took a little bit of a hit with the Giants because of what was going on there, but it was still always there. I still remember talking to Malcolm Jenkins at MetLife Stadium in the locker room when he was either very early in his career. It's like, that dude is something. In a league of great athletes, when you set yourself apart, and you see it even in this locker room where, you you have a Hall of Fame player smack dab if he didn't play another game in Lane Johnson. You have a bunch of future Hall of Famers, and they all kind of say, well, Saquon. And to Saquon's credit, he'll say Lane,
Right.
AJ, so that's a unique chemistry that the Eagles have going on. They have so many, and like I've said, when we talk about the Eagles being the best team in football or in the conversation to be the best team in football, it's about those guys. It's about the top 20 on this team, the top 20 of the roster. And obviously he's a big part of it, but everybody on that top 100 list is a big part of it. And, they're all great in their own specific way. But the difference with Saquon this year, he's coming off the season. He's coming off the greatest season, 2,504 rushing yards. So that's how you jump from 86 to 1 in one season, because nobody's ever done that before. But he'll be the first to tell you, well, I couldn't have done it. And his time in New York will validate this. Couldn't have done it without Lane and Jordan and Landon and Cam, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, as Nick Sirianni always says, you can't be great without the greatness of others.
And I think that's the slogan that was inscribed on their Super Bowl rings, Johnny Mac. So good use of that as we get ready to kick off the 2025 NFL season. John, let's dive into that game. Congrats one more time to Saquon Barkley. We got a great show planned for everybody. We are going to have John Machota. He is one of the best covering the Cowboys, and he's been covering that, I don't know, for lack of a better word, that shit show all off season and for the last several years.
I always say we're up against it in Philadelphia, with the Eagles and how they do things. But generally from a positive perspective, all the moves they make, all the things they're involved with, covering the Eagles is not easy because of all the moving parts. And then I think about my Dallas compatriots and go, it's not too bad. Because that is a nut house down there.
Yeah,
nut house.
I think it might be fun to cover. I mean, we might have to ask John Machota that if he has fun covering the team that makes headlines the way they do.
Yeah,
John,
it is fun, but you got to embrace it.
For sure. John, let's get into this injury report yesterday. First injury reports came out. You were down at practice yesterday. The coordinator spoke yesterday as well. So we'll talk about that. But one thing that really stuck out.
You're going to get the rare ripping of Vic Fangio today, by the way.
Oh, they got to him, John. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's hit that injury report first. Landon Dickerson missed practice yesterday with a back. So he has a meniscus surgery just a few weeks ago. And now he missed practice with a back heading into the game. What do you know about it, Johnny Mac? And just your thought on him popping up with the back as opposed to what I think we expected if he missed practice would be the knee.
Well, my first thought was, is his back hurting because he's favoring the knee?
Right. Exactly.
That's the issue here to me. You got a 6'6", 340-pound guy with knee problems and back problems. Look, I think Landon's going to play, and we'll get a better indication. Obviously, Nick's not going to tell us anything. But we'll get a better indication as we get down there to practice today, which will be the last practice before Thursday night that we'll walk through tomorrow. If he's out there, obviously he's going to play. I mean, I'm over 50% he's going to play because he's Landon Dickerson. But my longer term concern is that we're not even to week 1. And this guy's had his meniscus trimmed, and now he's got a back injury, perhaps because he's favoring to try to get through the meniscus. That's my concern.
Yeah.
Toughest guy on the team. He's going to try to bite through stuff. But at sometimes I've said this before, you got to err on the side of caution. Yeah. And I don't know. Hopefully we'll get to talk to Landon at some point, and he probably won't even admit it. I don't know if it's related to the knee injury, but it makes sense. He had surgery August 13th. August 13th, September 2nd, he was out on the field drinking beers with the Cleveland Browns the day after he had surgery. I mean, it's one thing to be tough. It's another to approach it more realistically. Sometimes you have to save the player from himself. And again, maybe the back has nothing to, maybe it has nothing to do with the knee, but it would make sense.
Don't you
The
think the
logic.
Eagles have shown that they would take air on that side of caution? Because look, I want Landon to be out there. I want to beat the shit out of the Cowboys on Thursday. I want it all. Believe me, I want him to be out there. But we all should have learned from last season that you don't win Super Bowls in week 1 or even 2, 3, or 4, or really any of the weeks in the year. So, how much caution do you put on that? I mean, I think like you do about it, where you think the knee, the back, those are two things that can nag people for a long time. I mean, my father had knee problems. I see the way it affects that. I know people who have back problems. It lingers for months and months and years. Really, how much caution will they err, John, with this? Do you think Landon will play?
I mean, I like I said, right now I'm over 50% he's going to play, so I'm still in the positive category. Look, I think it's built in with meniscus. You're not being cautious if you're trimming it. You're trimming it to get the player back, as opposed to him being out 6 to 8 months.
Right.
They don't have depth at competent depth. Brett Toth would be the starter, most likely. You have Drew Kendall. You have Matt Pryor, who's not really a left-handed player. You have Kenyon Green back. That's not going to wow anybody. And you have, this is one of the best players on your team. So, but, already we're here. Not even through week 1, he's dealing with a knee, and now he's dealing with a back. And he's got a history of injuries, and he's carrying them around a lot at 6'6", 340. And that's, his whole game is power. Not as a very smart player, not his whole game, but that's his biggest strength. He might be the strongest guy in the league. And is he going to have the same power as a player if his back is hurting, if his knee is hurting? You saw last year when his knee was different knee injury, was banged up, and he made the famous twirl block. He hates watching that because the only reason he made it was because he was hurt and he couldn't move. He hates watching it. So, I mean, hopefully it's okay, but I think it's something to keep an eye on.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. We'll keep you posted about any updates on Landon Dickerson here on the channel. Looking forward to talking to John Machota in a couple of minutes here as he will join us, the Cowboys reporter from The Athletic. Looking forward to talking to him. John, anything else on the Eagles injury report? It looked pretty small to me. Tanner McKee did not participate with that right thumb injury, and then limited yesterday was Andrew Makuba and Josh Uche. A full participant was Jalen Carter. So nothing really of note there other than the Makuba and Uche as limited participants. Curious to see if they'll be ready to go for Thursday night. What do you make of the rest of the injury report?
Tanner's not playing, so we can forget about that. So Sam Howell's going to be the backup, but I'm not too concerned because I think Jalen Hurts will be just fine. With Drew and Josh, I mean, Drew looks fine from an outside perspective. I saw him dancing in the locker room yesterday. Jalen Carter, the same. I mean, he's just listed because I guess he's dealing with something. Josh Uche, haven't gotten a great look at because the defensive front people are usually so far away from us, but I would expect them all to play. Now, I do think Sidney Brown's going to start at safety. I don't know how they start Makuba. They only have 3 safeties, so most likely one of their elevations is going to be Marcus Epps or Andre Sam. And then the other one is going to be interesting because if they want a third quarterback, they're going to have to elevate Kyle McCord from the practice squad, but they probably also want to elevate Britton Covey to be the punt returner. So You know, depends what you want to do from that perspective. But pretty healthy, and that they should be pretty healthy because that's what their whole preseason was designed to be.
Yeah,
and you'll notice the names that aren't on there: A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith.
Yep.
Not even on there.
They're good to go. Dan, I think he said, hell yeah, was the quote you gave us from A.J. Brown about playing. So good stuff on the injury report. John, did you see the Cowboys injury report as well? I know they have some things going on there, but they did have a couple guys that had questions as full participants yesterday in Tyler Guyton and cornerback Trayvon Diggs. So not a big injury report over there. DT Perrion Winfrey was the only guy who did not participate for the Cowboys yesterday, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, Diggs is a full participant. You'd think he's going to play. Guyton's the most interesting because if you go back, they thought he tore his ACL. Well, I shouldn't say they. There was reports that came out that he tore his ACL really at the start of training camp, and John probably have the better explanation. And then the MRI came back, and it was clean from an ACL perspective, but it was some kind of bone fracture, and they thought he'd be out 4 to 6 weeks. And now he's back on the practice field, and he's a full participant. Same thing. I don't know if he's going to play, and hopefully John has more clarity on that. But that's if he can play, that's big for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
That's their left tackle. So that would be a big get back for the Cowboys if he can play.
Yeah, good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, let's talk about those coordinators yesterday. They spoke. You had an interesting comment there about Vic, that he was about to get ripped by Johnny Mac. Holy moly, what did you make of the coordinators?
Wow, what a waste of time. Come on.
Did they get to him, John? Did they get to Vic?
Oh, they clearly got to him. Clearly.
Man, didn't expect that from Vic Fangio, John.
No, I'm very disappointed. I'm like, come on. And this whole nonsense and then we're out at practice a little while later. And Adoree Jackson's working with Quinyon Mitchell while all the other cornerbacks go work on special teams. Adoree Jackson's starting. Like, what is the big freaking deal here? What do you think? Brian Schottenheimer's down in Dallas looking at us? My God, is Adoree Jackson starting or is Jacorian Bennett? Oh my God, is it Trotter or Jihad Campbell? My God.
I think George Pickens is going like this to hear Adoree Jackson is starting.
Well, he'd be going like this if he heard Jacorian Bennett was starting. So we give a
That's true. That's true.
Sidney Brown or Drew Makuba. I mean, come on, Eagles. And
well,
look, I generally defer to Nick. I go, he believes it, and he's the head coach, so it's his team, it's his right. I'm not saying it's not his right. I'm just saying it's fucking silly. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody.
No, there is a line of thinking though, John. I mean, whether we like it or not, that they will stick to that. I mean, look at that. I saw somebody tweet.
Oh, they will stick to it.
Thing. Did you see the Belichick thing? He put out like the depth chart last night and didn't have
he's an idiot too, and I'm glad he got boat raced. not putting out a depth chart. Come on. This is ridiculous. This is not the CIA. The ego on these guys has gotten to the point where I talked about in college football. They don't let quarterbacks do anything in college football. The egos are so out of fucking whack. Yeah. And the funny thing is, the Cowboys aren't game planning for any of those 6 players I mentioned. Any of them. They're worried about Jalen Carter and Zach Bond and Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper, etc. Those are the guys they're game planning about. Not the parts you're concerned about. But whatever.
I don't think it's going to change. Yeah, I don't think it's going to change. The
No,
one thing
it's
that
not.
did change
It's obvious.
I mean, Vic is normally very open and honest, and it's a joy to listen to his press conferences. And
Not yesterday.
Yesterday, he's hitting you guys with that's a Nick question. That's a Howie question. I'm like, oh, man, they got the Vic. They let him know early. So good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, a couple days out from this game now, 2 days and 12 hours. It's 8:22 in the morning right now. So almost exactly 2 days and 12 hours. That game will be set to kick off the NFL season opener for 2025. Let's bring in our boy now, John Machota, who covers the Dallas Cowboys for The Athletic. Me and John have been discussing. That must be a fun job covering the Dallas Cowboys with all the things they have going on. Let's bring him up right now. You can follow him on X at John Machota and read all his work at The Athletic. John, welcome to the show, man. How you doing on this Tuesday morning?
I'm doing well, and it is fun. I will say they keep me very busy.
Yes, they do.
Not covering any Super Bowl runs, but a lot of drama.
Well, I always say, we're up against it here, John. I always say with, all the stuff Howie does, he made 5 August trades. We're always, looking at our phone and bang, we got to do something. But
can I jump in on that real quick?
Yeah.
I'm envious in that way because I will say this. I've been covering the Cowboys. This will now be my 15th season. And while I think there's a lot of things that the Cowboys do well organizationally, they've never been on the level where the Eagles, and particularly since Howie Roseman's been running the show there. And I'm so envious of that, to be covering something where you're like, this is the best of the best. Let me just go with what they're saying. They know what they're doing. Let's roll. Where covering the Cowboys, there's always second guessing about everything, where you're just like, is this the best move for the team, or is this a move that's being done because of publicity and getting people talking? Like, there is something that, and as much as Bill did get boat race yesterday for North Carolina, that I'm envious of those Patriots years where it was like, he didn't give you anything and his press conferences sucked, but at least when you were covering it, you're like, okay, I know I'm covering, like, this is greatness right now. Like, this is
working. Exactly.
Yeah. What I'll have to hang my hat on over the last 15 years is that I don't think there will be more Jerry Joneses coming down the line in sports. And so I'll always have that. I was around Jerry Jones for 15, 20 years, however long it is that he lives. And that I'll always have those references to, well, anytime anybody thinks something's crazy, I'll be like, well, I did cover Jerry Jones for a little bit.
Right.
But outside of that, I am envious of being able to cover something where you're like, no, absolutely. This team does everything to turn over every stone and find any possible way to take an advantage. And my biggest one that for the Eagles with me is that when they make a mistake, they move on quick.
They move on very quickly.
It's very admirable.
I try to talk about how he's great, but there are times I don't know, because I got signed out of my co-host account. I didn't even know you were in the green room, but I will say this. I don't know how early you popped on, but there's nonsense about who's starting. I don't know. Brian Schottenheimer, I'm talking about the Eagles' old offensive coordinator, is worried about Adoree Jackson versus Jacorian Bennett. I mean, the absurdity of the subterfuge. And Vic Fangio used to be this breath of fresh air, John, and said, you ask him a question. You don't have to get him talking. You just ask him what you want to know, and he answer it. Not yesterday. So there are little things that I try to point out. Yes, Howie's great. Yes, the Eagles try to uncover every rock. But his reputation has gotten to the point, I think he's in people's heads. Now, I think when he does make 5 August trades and it's for Jacorian Bennett and Sam Howell, they're like, oh, look at these moves. He's playing 3D chess. Yeah. I'm like, but Sam Howell, Kevin O'Connell's the guy. I say this all the time, John. He's the guy with quarterbacks in this league. Everybody wants to work with him. He's got all these, Sam Darnold's success. He made Josh Dobbs look good for a short period. He's got this big reputation. He looked at Sam Howell for 4 months and said, yeah, I don't want that guy. I want Carson Wentz. So, there are little layers of it where you say, all right, Howie deserves all his flowers as you just gave him. But sometimes he doesn't deserve the flowers for every single move. What you did say, though, when he makes mistakes, he moves on quickly. Bryce Huff, perfect example last year. Blatant mistake. He moved on quickly. That part of it, 100%. And I go all the way back. We got to start with Micah, with you. Why was this different? We all know Jerry's playbook. He's going to pay them in the end. Is this just the case of the players like, I don't want to be involved with this? What was the breaking point here?
I I don't really put a heavy weight on the whole player side of this in this deal. I mean, Micah Parsons can say whatever he wants. There's no way. Just being around Micah Parsons last 4 years, there's no way he wanted to leave Dallas. And I'm not saying about because it was going to give him the best chance to get a ring. I'm talking like Micah Parsons is the player version of Jerry Jones. He loves the publicity. He loves people paying attention to him. It has had to be so difficult for him. Forget not playing on the field, not doing his podcast, not talking to the media. Like, I mean, those are things that Micah Parsons loves. So I don't buy the fact, like, I fully believe that he would, if he could get a contract even close, it didn't have to be as good as the Packers contract. Anything even close to that in Dallas, he would have been more than happy to stick around and remain with the Dallas Cowboys. I think what happened with Jerry Jones is that this is a small part of it, but just because you mentioned it, I do think that everyone constantly saying, well, they're just going to pay these guys. They always do. Yeah. Jerry doesn't move on from superstars. I think that was a factor. It's just like, this is how sports are. It's never one thing. It's a culmination. I think that's a factor. I think him paying the wrong players, giving guys contract extensions that maybe they didn't really feel like, looking back on it, they should have. Ezekiel Elliott could be one where, there was a long holdout there. I think there's a lot of things where he's looked at stuff in the past where he's trying not to make the same mistakes maybe. And then I just think behind the scenes that things have gotten sour between not just Jerry, but kind of the organization and Micah Parsons. And I guess the best way I can describe it to you is there aren't many people in the organization, from front office, coaching staff to players, where I really feel we're banging the table that Micah can't leave, and when I say that, I mean, like, CeeDee Lamb seems like that. Trayvon Diggs is one of his best friends. But I don't get the sense that there's all these people in the organization who are just like, Jerry, what are you doing? Like, it's the 2014 draft and everybody's like, we're taking Zach Martin, right? And Jerry's like, no. What about this Johnny Manziel thing? I don't think it's that. There's even a part of me that thinks that maybe Jerry could have been one of the last people talked into doing this, that Jerry was the one hanging on, because I don't buy all the whole, he's mad that he had a handshake deal and Micah's backing out of this. I don't, you can use that as an example of where things went sour, but I do not believe that is that was the tipping point. If that's a tipping point, those conversations happened in March. You could have done this before the draft in April, gotten more, probably didn't have to send him to just an awful, I mean, that's one of the things for me. I
say the same thing, John. That is the worst team to send him to.
I don't live in a world of where I saw a lot of these tweets and a lot of these hot takes from national writers, reporters saying you never trade generational talent pass rusher. Yeah, you shouldn't, but I will not go never. There's plenty of things I can tell you that would make me say, oh, no, I can do it. Here's my thing, though. You got to do it. You got to get more in return, and you do not send him to the Green Bay Packers. You just cannot do that. So those are the two things I'm critical of, but I am not on that side of just, well, you absolutely cannot do this. Honestly, it's not even about pass rusher. I only think there's maybe 5-6 guys in the entire league that I say, no matter what goes behind the scenes, whatever. And it's probably mostly quarterbacks.
Yeah. What do you think the ripple effect of this is going to be, John? I mean, look, the player has the personality he has that you pointed out, but the reality is he's one of the best players in the NFL. He really is. Well, what's been the ripple effect that you've seen so far? And then kind of just trying to extrapolate that out into the future. Like, to me, I said on the show, looks like the Cowboys waved the white flag to me a week before the season started, and they send one of their best players to the Green Bay Packers for 2 1s. I'm like, geez, they don't think they can compete this year. That was my perspective. What do you think the ripple effect's been inside that locker room?
Completely agree with you. The randomness, though, of it is my 15 years covering the team. 2 of the best seasons I've seen have come off of exactly the scenarios you're saying. Usually when the Cowboys are being picked by a lot of people, or, there's a lot of the expectations, which has been the most of this last 15 years that they never meet. But 2014, when that was one of the only times I've ever heard Jerry Jones at a press conference before training camp saying that we got an uphill battle here. They moved on from DeMarcus Ware at that time, and they were not thinking that they were going to be very good. And that's one of the best seasons they've had in the last 25, 30 years. And then 2016, Romo goes down in the preseason, and you thought that they would go for a veteran backup because Kellen Moore had gotten hurt. And they're like, no, we're going to go with Dak Prescott, this 4th-round pick. And they ended up having maybe the best season of the last 20 or 30 years for them. So there is that part of me where I don't, just because I've covered this team, that I'm not completely shutting the door on them surprising people, but it's very unlikely. I mean, it's much more likely that this is a, 5-6 win team that's has a top 10 pick, maybe top 5 pick, which doesn't really happen very often in Dallas. That's been the problem. Like the Cowboys are, I mean, like stuck in the middle. Like they haven't been good enough to win it all roster wise, and then, but they're never bad enough, long enough to build up the capital to where you can build like what the Lions have right now, where it's most of that's done outside of Goff through the draft. They haven't really been that bad. So I think what they're doing is they're getting set up to where they're going to be picking pretty high. And that's the other thing about that deal with the Packers. Like, that Packers pick is not going to be a high pick at all.
It's like what, 25 to 32, best case 25, maybe 32, literally, because I think it makes them a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Now, last one on Mike is the fact you kind of brought up. I from the outside, I have tremendous respect for Will McClay, one of the best personnel guys in this league. And he's got to deal with Jerry and all that kind of stuff to build this roster. So I've always had tremendous respect for him. So this thought that, they get back Kenny Clark, who's been a good player in this league. They need run stoppers. It hasn't worked out with Mozzie Smith to date. Obviously, you're in a division with Saquon Barkley, the best rushing attack in the NFL, at least in Baltimore in the equation, but certainly in the conversation. So there's that thought that maybe they match up a little bit better with the Eagles. Are you buying any of that? Because I'm not. I'm just not.
No, I think there's a big gap between now with the Packers getting Parsons. To me, it's Packers, Eagles, Lions, and then everybody else in the NFC. So no, I don't. And then the Cowboys could very well be a bottom 5 team in the NFC. So I look at the NFC East.
But just the philosophy of we have to stop the run, or is this just complete spin and hey, we got to make this into something?
No. It's been one of their biggest weaknesses, and it's because they haven't been able to find, they haven't been able to come close to finding their Jalen Carter. Like it's. I mean, literally, when I said to you at the beginning about Howie moving on, the number one person I'm thinking about is Mozzie Smith in Dallas. You use a first-round pick on him, so you're just committed that they're going to try and make this work. And it was to the point where he's even playing in the 3rd preseason game on a team that's not playing really any starters at all in that 3rd preseason game, and he's playing throughout the entire first half. I mean, it was very clear he was a roster bubble guy. And so their investments at defensive tackle really haven't worked out. Osa Odighizuwa is a pretty good player. I think he's in line to probably have his best season. And then if Kenny Clark can stay healthy, this is the best they'll be at defensive tackle in 15 years, probably since they had Jay Ratliff. I mean, they have not had any success in the middle of that defense, and that has been a big issue. But Kenny Clark's going to be 30. We're not going to sit here and act like, oh, well, this is a move because he's Jalen Carter's age. This is a move that this should probably impact you for a couple of years, but now you still are going to have to find somebody else going forward. So it helps you right now, but it almost doesn't even look like your window is to win right now. Like when you move on from Micah Parsons, I don't know how much that window is right now, as opposed to the window looks like it's maybe in another 5 years.
What's their edge rushing room look like now post Micah Parsons? I know they got Sam Williams over there. That's, I guess, expected to kind of replace Micah. That's a big ask on Sam Williams. What do you make of that room now without Micah Parsons? Because the interior got better, but the edges got worse.
Absolutely. And there's nobody on the team that's even close to Micah Parsons. No doubt about that. And there's nobody that's going to draw the double and triple teams that Micah did that opened stuff up for everybody else.
Right.
But I don't think it's a weakness. It's not the strength that it was. They don't have Micah Parsons. They don't have DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah,
the Donovan Ezeraku, this kid they got out of Boston College in the second round. Like he's got a potential of probably not his rookie year, but he does have potential down the line to be a double-digit sack type guy. And then Dante Fowler, I still think has some tread left on the tire after having that 10.5 sack season last year for Washington. And then Sam Williams, as long as he stays healthy, he's been a guy that even when Mike McCarthy was coaching, he would talk about how the upside is there. Like Sam is a special player, talent-wise. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. And then Marshawn Nealon is a second-round pick they drafted a year ago. And so they'll be okay there. The reason I'd say that I think it's better than people think is because when Micah gets traded, Jerry says at the press conference that night that don't think that we're just saving these picks for the future. We could use them right now to upgrade the roster. And that got a lot of people saying, oh, well, that they're going to go after an edge rusher now. And I don't believe that at all. Corner and running back would be much higher on my list than edge rusher. So certainly not anything like having Micah Parsons. Don't get me wrong, but it's not as bad as I think people think it's going to be.
All right, well, let's talk about corner from the perspective of Trayvon Diggs coming back, full participant, and Tyler Guyton, so I'll go both sides. That's a surprise. I mean, when Tyler went down, you thought ACL. There were reports earlier. Then it's 4 to 6 weeks, whatever it was, the fractured something. And they're full participants. Is there a chance both are going to play on Thursday night?
Yeah, there's a chance. I would say Diggs is more likely than Guyton. Diggs saying yesterday he thinks it's 75-80% chance he plays, which is mind-blowing to me because the knee procedure he had back in January is one where a lot of people, including people in the organization, thought this is going to be something where he's probably out for he opens the season on PUP. He's not playing in those first 4 weeks. And then it just, even like the last week and a half, we were out in California where the Cowboys do their first 4 weeks of training camp. He just kept doing more and more off to the side, and it was moving really well. And it was just interesting to compare it to Savon Ravel, who was their corner they took in the 3rd round, who also was coming off a knee injury that he suffered at East Carolina. And the expectation is that he would participate in training camp. And it was almost like you've just seen like Trayvon Diggs passing him, where I was just like, wow, this is bizarre that it looks like Diggs is closer to being ready. So if he does play, though, how well is he going to play and how much can he play for? Because, I mean, this is a guy who hasn't done anything really in practice. He's trying to catch up, like, by going with the scout team and doing extra stuff in practice this week, like going against George Pickens, going against CeeDee Lamb. But I just think it's a tall task to put him out there without doing any preseason, really anything at training camp, and being like, oh, here, you got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith right now. I mean, that's a lot to ask of him. And so, but I still think he's more likely. I think Nate Thomas ends up starting at left tackle for the Cowboys, who he's a second-year guy, but he's been a guy that they've really liked a lot. He was going to be their swing tackle. I think they give Guyton another week before they bring him back.
John, how much do you think the addition of George Pickens is going to do for this team? Philly fans are tough on Dak Prescott, and I've always said you can pick on him for the playoff lack of success, but the guy can throw the ball, and you had a big target in George Pickens. How much do you think he impacts the offense this year for the Cowboys?
Yeah, when we got out to training camp, like the rapport between Dak and CD, I mean, literally looked like they had just finished the season the week before. I mean, it just was hitting exactly like you'd expect. CD was obviously thrilled to be there because he missed all of that portion of camp last year in his contract holdout. So it was just like, to compare the two, I was just like, yeah, George just isn't on that level with Dak yet. But as camp went along, that's when you started to see, you're like, oh, yeah, they're clicking. Because it's interesting. There's been the other receivers the Cowboys have added, and I don't think that Brandon Cooks was the best fit for Dak. Whereas like when they traded for Amari Cooper, man, like him and Dak, even it was during the bye week, they hit the ground running right away. And so Dak and George Pickens are certainly on the same page now. Like I can't wait to watch that more than anything in this game, like that first half, because all I've had to go off of is really when they've practiced against the Rams, because they're not playing any of their starters in the preseason. And that's why when you guys were talking earlier about, the way Vic was talking and the way Nick was talking and keeping stuff like kind of close to the vest, part of me was like, I wonder if that's a little bit of gamesmanship too, because the Cowboys have gone out of their way not to show anything. And Brian Schottenheimer's been very open about, well, this is our best advantage because they don't know exactly what we're going to do. So we're not going to show everything. That's the biggest advantage we have going in this game. But when you asked about George, the first thing I thought of was like, I think he's going to have a big year. It's a contract year for him. And I think the Cowboys are going to be behind in a lot of games. So they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. So I see, like, if I'm talking to anybody right now that's listening fantasy wise, I would absolutely trying to get CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. I think they're going to both put up big numbers.
Well, I agree with you, John, from the perspective of that's how coaches think, that week one, you have a lot of unscouted looks, a lot of change. There's always turnover in the NFL. It's about 30% at least for every roster. With the Cowboys, you have a new head coach, Brian Schottenheimer, new defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus. Now, Nick and Matt know each other very well from their days in Indy together. So a lot of gamesmanship, I think, going on from that perspective. What are your early thoughts on Brian Schottenheimer? A lot of criticism Hey, we went through this in 2021 where everybody was making fun and nobody who knew who Nick was. Very few people outside the industry knew who Nick was. He wasn't a high-level candidate. Only interview he got was for the Eagles. Had a terrible first press conference, still the end of the COVID era, was on Zoom, didn't connect with people, looked awful. And, you know, he's 4 for 4 in playoffs, 2 Super Bowl berths, Super Bowl championship. I wouldn't pull the plug on Brian Schottenheimer is what I'm trying to say. Your early thoughts on him as the head coach and Matt with that defense. I love Mike Zimmer, but I think the game kind of passed him by a little bit. I think they're going to be better on defense just for the addition of Matt Eberflus.
So with Brian, see, this is the thing about the Cowboys head coaching job. Like there's that Jerry Jones piece that makes it different from everyone else. And so while this wouldn't be something I would really consider with other jobs, part of my evaluation of him is how does he handle that? How does he handle those distractions? And he is wired for that. And I think that has been one of his greatest strengths. Like even talking about the Parsons trade and things like that at the press conference, like there's nothing about him that seems like he feels like he's rushed. Like he completely seems like he's in control in control of the chaos that comes with being the Dallas Cowboys head coach. So that's why, like, I think there's a lot of good coaches in the NFL that wouldn't have success in Dallas because of that part where they're like great X's and O's, great football guys, but then it's like, oh yeah, no. We'll get to the football stuff in a second, but we got to ask you about this, and this, and that can burn you out. And so that part, I just have to bring it up because it is real. Like that is not some just, talk show thing. Like that is real. And it's going to heat up even more. I mean, Jerry's about to start doing his 2 radio interviews a week. He's going to be talking after a game. Yeah. He will talk after how many coaches? How many coaches would love?
It's awesome, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is great for us. But if you're a head coach, do you love the fact that you're going to go to your post-game press conference, especially after home games? And most of us will be talking to Jerry Jones, while you're talking to the other reporters that go to that, And so because of that, I think he's handled everything really well. The only questions I have is that there's a lot on his plate being the head coach and offensive play caller. And so that remains to be seen how that goes. You could possibly be critical of the coaching staff hires because it's a very young staff. There's several coaches that are coming from the college ranks. And so there could be some bumps in the road early on with that. And hey, like I said about the preseason thing, like maybe that backfires on them. Maybe they should have played some of these guys in the preseason as opposed to being like, oh, well, let's go against the defending Super Bowl champs. And unless they're looking at this game of like, well, we probably aren't going to win that one anyway. So we can show everything and we can work through the kinks in that game. And then we'll be ready to go for the Giants week 2. They're not saying that, but that's just my own belief in how lopsided I think this game is going to be. But up to this point, I don't know how you can't say like if I go with the letter grade thing, I don't know how anybody would give him an F or a D or even a C. Like, I mean, up to this point, what he's done, all things considered, I don't think you could have handled the stuff any better than he has.
Good stuff there for Schottenheimer. John, where do you think this team is right now as compared to the NFC East? I think at the top right now, you got the Eagles and the the Commanders, who've kind of separated themselves. The Commanders obviously did what they did last year. Eagles did what they did. And then at the bottom, you have the Giants. And the Cowboys have kind of teetered between the top tier and the bottom tier in this division. Do you think they're closer to the Eagles and the Commanders right now, or are they closer to the Giants and potentially even a full-blown rebuild at some point in the next couple of years? Where do you think they are right now coming into this year?
You guys can disagree. Anybody watching this can disagree with me. I'm a person of like, I am not a 1 year make all these bold statements after seeing 1 year. So I've been like that my whole entire life when it comes to sports. And so I need to see more from Washington before I put them up there. Like that's one season. Everything seemed to go great for them. Even when things weren't going well, all of a sudden things bounced their way. And so I'm not saying that they can't be on that level, but I need to see more. So I don't put them on the level of the Eagles. The Eagles are on the one tier by themselves. Then it's the Commanders. Then it's the Cowboys under there. And then I have the Giants. And again, the Giants, just because it's not a 1 year thing. It's been like this for a long time to where when I started covering the Cowboys, I looked at the Giants as that's like one of the best organizations in football to where now it's like, I don't know. Maybe they'll be good in the next 3 or 4 years. Maybe they're what they are. I mean, that one I keep going back to is really ties into the Eagles. The fact that they moved on from Saquon Barkley. And if you're Jerry Jones with this Micah Parsons thing, you better have that in the back of your mind when you made this move, that you could be doing the Saquon Barkley with the Packers, where you're giving this guy up and he's the piece that puts them over the top. And you guys are sitting there left, like looking like, yeah, maybe we should have put up with a little bit of the stuff behind the scenes. This is a huge disaster for us. But yeah, I think the Cowboys are third right now, but I don't think they're going to have a great season. I think they're going to be drafting high. I think they're going to have a lot of draft capital to make moves. And to your point that you said earlier, John, Will McClay is one of the strongest pieces in the organization. And the way this organization has been built over the last, 5-10 years, maybe even longer, is we're going to draft well. We're not going to do much in free agency or trades of adding players from other teams to fill in the middle, the gaps. And then when we draft well, we'll pay those guys. So we're top heavy, and then we're drafting well. That's where Will's at. And that middle part is what has held the Cowboys back. And as great as the Eagles are at the top, I believe that their middle is very strong too. And that's where you get them in a position where you're just like, this team's going to be competing for a long time. That middle has been missing. And it's almost like, well, we'll pay our top guys. We'll take care of that. We'll pull us out of the dirt with another strong draft.
Yeah. I get that feeling with the Eagles this year, but it's big defensively because the Eagles pay everybody on offense. Part of that is circumstance, John. Just all their superstars are on offense and are a little bit older, and their defense, they've drafted very well, to your point, and they don't have to pay. But it's coming with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith after this season, potentially Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. So it's going to have to shift a little bit, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Cowboys
or they might let some good players walk.
Yeah. Well, they already have
like Carter walk, but you know, after that, you got to make tough decisions.
Yeah. And they already have this year.
Going back to what I do compared to what you guys do, you have to have the confidence though. You've seen that Howie will fill in those gaps. Yeah. That's the thing about the Cowboys. You just don't feel that you're that confident they're going to fill in the gaps.
Right.
At John Machota, make sure you follow John on the X platform. For my money, the best Dallas Cowboys reporter in the business. You can read him at The Athletic, his podcast, One Star Cowboys. So you can listen to him there as well. You mentioned, because this also resonated with me with Nick Sirianni. When Nick first got here, he was the play caller, and he said too much, and he had to hand it off to Shane Steichen at the time. I don't know if that's going to happen with Brian. I doubt it because very few coaches have the ego to turn that down. But in general, you look at their offensive coordinator, he'd be the next guy, presumably. Clayton Adams, who is interesting to me because he was an NFL guy, but he was an offensive line coach in Arizona. I believe he was going to be the Stanford head coach and then turned back to become the Cowboys offensive coordinator. That's amazing. You don't often see that offensive line coach go to offensive coordinator. What have your impressions been of him? Because he'll be a big part of building that offense with Brian Schottenheimer.
So for me, I will say that I believe they brought in Clayton to help fix their run game issues.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah,
they could also probably fix run game issues by, I don't know, maybe investing in
the
position,
running back.
You know what I'm saying? Like again, like when I say about the Micah thing, the overcorrection, like the results of things that have happened in the past. It's like they get Zeke. It obviously worked early on, and then they paid him, and it didn't work after that. And so it was like we invested too heavy on running back, and they're almost like overcorrecting to like they're not going to invest anything in running back. So it's like he's part of bringing him in is part of fixing that run game. But also for me, going to your point about, giving up the play calling, like especially being down here in Texas, there's not a lot, but there's people that talk about like with Steve Sarkisian taking the Texas job. He got that job because of his offensive play calling. That's his greatest strength. Brian Schottenheimer, a lot of similarities. That's what his strength is. If Mike McCarthy stays, I believe Brian Schottenheimer is the OC calling the plays. I believe that Jerry was going to, and I also think that if Jerry didn't hire Brian, I think it was going to be Kellen Moore part 2, where the next head coach was going to get Brian as the offensive coordinator anyway. So when you're going in those meetings where Jerry's talking about being the offensive play caller, and it starts heating up to the point where you're coming in for a second meeting and you're going, oh, wow, I think I got a chance to be the head coach. You're certainly not going to tell him in those meetings, yeah, let me just be the walk-around head coach. We're going to hire somebody else. You want me as the offensive play caller, so you're not going to give that up. So you bring in Clayton Adams. He hasn't called plays before. So there's also not that guy where you're just like, if things don't go well early, where people like myself and others are asking, hey, are you going to be handing this thing off? Like we asked, obviously, Mike McCarthy, and often a lot of head coaches are asked, like when things aren't going well. That's the thing about this staff. Like anybody that thinks that this is going to be like one of these, oh, yeah, it'll just be 1 year. If it's a disaster, it'll move on. No, they won't. Brian Schottenheimer will be the head coach of the Cowboys. He will get at least 2 years, and probably I'm confident to say he'll get at least 3. With how confident and comfortable Jerry was in 9 years of Jason Garrett, like I just do not see him moving on unless somebody comes along that like, and I don't know who that would be. He could have gotten Bill Belichick. He could have gotten Deion Sanders. Like,
too big a name, man. He wants to be the star. He's not. I don't think he's.
He wants to be the star, but he also doesn't want to pay. I mean, you don't even bring in Ben Johnson, not even for an interview. You're the Dallas Cowboys. I'm from Detroit. So growing up, I'm very aware the Lions can't get anybody to be your head coach. The Cowboys can get anybody, because even with the Jerry Jones factor, you know how you offset that? You back up the Brinks truck. There is no salary cap on coaches. There's no reason the Dallas Cowboys don't have the most expensive coaching staff that has ever been heard of in sports. Everybody on their staff should be the highest paid there is, and it is far from the truth, or far from the case.
I talk about it all the time. Before you get to Howie, you got to talk about Jeffrey Lurie, because he puts together an organization where Howie can do what he needs to do to win. And to your point, there is no salary cap with off the field stuff. So the Eagles are bringing Joe Douglas back. They have Dave Caldwell here. They have 3 former general managers. Matt Russell, if you want to include him. They got all these personnel people, these bright personnel minds. Why? There's no salary cap. They can bring them in if they want to come in.
Right.
I think it starts with Jeffrey Lurie. And, Jerry's the best businessman when it comes to ownership in the NFL, Hall of Fame businessman, I always call him. Jeffrey Lurie is a Hall of Fame football owner. He really is.
And Jerry was like that. Jerry was like that early on because he was trying to fix the business. And so he was allowing Jimmy Johnson to do what he needed to do. And obviously Jimmy was great at what he did in that. And look at the success they had. And it probably should have went a lot longer than it did if the egos didn't get in the way. But there was a time when Jerry was that.
I love the conflation to the Herschel Walker trade. I'm like, well, but then Jimmy built off that. It wasn't just one thing. He just kept building and building and building. But always interesting and always fun to talk to John Machota. I will
John, one last question for you before I let you run, brother. If the Cowboys upset or spoil the Eagles banner night, all right, 2 days from now, give me the top 2 or 3 things they got to do to make that happen in this game.
Top 2 things for sure. The Eagles would have to come out and play sloppy on offense and turn the ball over. Matt Eberflus defenses do have a history of being able to force takeaways. And when I say that, it can't be like they lose the turnover battle 1-0. Like they would have to be like 3-0.
Last year, home opener, Eagles had 3 turnovers last year, home opener. Or
season opener, it was in Brazil though. That can put, this game will be at Lincoln Financial Field, but it was a home game for the Eagles. But they did play sloppy. I'll tell you this, John. I don't think their starting 11 had 1 rep together. I'm talking about the Eagles in training camp. So to your point about not playing anybody, the Eagles played nobody in practice. AJ Brown woke up with a little bit of a tight hamstring, shut him down. Devontae Smith, groin, shut him down. Not 1 rep together. We're trying to figure this out, a group of us beat reporters together. I do not think they had 1 rep together with their starting 11 on offense. And they're going to roll them out there.
But at least with their offense, they brought it to a Super Bowl level. Whereas like with the Cowboys, you're working in the George Pickens thing. That's why, like, the other thing I was going to say is the passing game would have to be playing at an elite level. So certainly George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, but kind of the sleeper in their passing game is going to be Kevontae Turpin, their kick returner, punt returner.
He's good. The Eagles are aware of him. Michael Clay won't stop talking about Turpin. Kick returner.
I'm firmly of the belief that when those meetings did happen that week before Brian was hired as head coach, when he was trying, because obviously when you're coming in for that meeting, you're trying to explain how you're going to make the offense better. Because you got to remember at this time too, when Brian gets a job, there's no George Pickens. You know, the belief was going into the draft, and it's not even a belief. This is the truth. If Tetaroa McMillan falls to the Cowboys, he is the pick. So because they didn't get McMillan and they didn't love any of the other receivers because they had plenty of guys that could be the 3-4 guys, they needed a number 2, a complement to CeeDee Lamb. So Brian didn't know that at the time. So I'm fully convinced that part of his sales pitch to Jerry was how much more Kevontae Turpin was going to be utilized in the offense, because it is ratcheted up each year he's been in the league.
Yeah.
But now I think it's to the point where he could probably, I think that third receiver is between him and their tight end, Jake Ferguson, in terms of like the most production. So that top 4 receiving options, and then Jalen Tolbert, you throw him in the mix too. That group, if it was clicking and they were able to somehow put up, 30 points, I think that would be their path to victory.
Yeah. It's a pretty good group. It's a pretty good group on paper for the Cowboys. So
yeah, if you can run the ball though.
Yeah, that's the
you know what I'm saying? When you got Devontae Williams and Jaden Blue, and some moving pieces on the O-line, like that's the thing. Like you can throw to open up the run, but like I've been telling everybody all offseason, like the game plan for me is simple against this Cowboys team. You put those safeties as far back as possible, and you dare them to try and win with the run game. There's no Ezekiel Elliott, DeMarco Murray, Emmitt Smith back there. Like you dare them, like, oh, let me see if your running game is on that level. Because you talk about not showing your starters in the preseason, like. We haven't seen Javonte Williams do anything when players are being tackled to the ground.
I full disclosure, I loved him coming out of college. I have to admit I wasn't right, but boy, I thought he was going to be a good back. And there were signs early, and hopefully they can tap into that. Oh, Netflix, real quick. Cherry Johnson Netflix show. To your point about Micah Parsons in Green Bay, I think a lot of people forget. The Emmett, the Troy Aikman, and I've said this on the show, the Michael Irvin Cowboys, their biggest rival became San Francisco, because that's the team they had to get over the hump in the playoffs against. Their biggest rival, if they get back to that level, and I think the Eagles' biggest rival this year will become, and maybe for a 3-4 year period, the Green Bay Packers, because of this trade. I cannot believe they traded him to the Green Bay Packers. I can't believe it, John. So I'll end it where I started it. More than the player moving, no, not that team. And they traded him to that team.
No, what, did Detroit not pick up the phone? I mean, that's the only way to me it gets worse.
Yeah.
If you put him opposite Aiden Hutchinson.
That would have been a real tragedy.
Can you just imagine what that would have been?
As an Eagle fan, I would have been pissed at that one. John, thanks for doing it today, man. Make sure you guys follow him at John Machota. Read him at The Athletic and listen to his podcast. 1 star, 1 is spelled out. 1 star Cowboys podcast. John, thanks for joining the show, man. Excellent stuff. We'll look forward to reading you after the game. All right, brother?
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. See you Thursday.
Here, great stuff there from John Machota. Awesome insight to the Cow. I always like to call it behind enemy lines, John. That was good insight there to the Dallas Cowboys. John, you were right about his perspective on covering the Cowboys. He's like, yeah, it's a lot, but I'd like to see some greatness maybe here and there, but he doesn't get any of that. Just
well, he wasn't around for the greatness when Jimmy Johnson was there, but they were truly great in that era. Different era though, but
around, John. It's been a while.
I thought they Jerry conflated that with the Herschel Walker trade, which wasn't just one part. Then it just expanded, and they got more for Herschel Walker. But I'm glad he agreed with me on the Packers part of it, because that to me is insane. That's the insane part of it. And again, that's an organization that generally makes good decisions. And they will do a better job accentuating having Micah Parsons. And he mentioned he went Packers, Eagles, Lions. I think he did it that way on purpose. I meant to clarify it, but he went Packers, Eagles, Lions. The Packers are going to be a freaking problem for people that don't realize. I think
Brian Gutekunst, John, was just flat out surprised that all it took was 2 1s in Kenny Clark.
Well, yeah,
from
his perspective, and you had to give up. You had to pay him 40. $7
Well,
million.
yeah, but again, I mean, this is a player game.
Which tells you what kind of player he is. When you pay somebody $47 million, you generally don't have to give up 2 first-round picks. But from the Packers' perspective, they're going to be, again, late picks. I'm saying 25 to 32. I'm being kind. They might be 32 this year.
Wow, you got really you think that team is
They are a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
gonna come down to Jordan Love, right? I mean, he's been a little bit of a streaky
Of course,
player.
you have to have the quarterback. I mean, you have
He
to
has
have the
shown
quarterback.
flashes. I got to give him that. He's shown major flashes, and he does have a great inherent skill set, but a little streaky for me.
Well, I agree with that, but they're playing a different style of football. In theory, again, the complementary nature, and this is what happened with Jalen last year. When you're playing from the lead, you can afford you don't have to take chances.
Right, exactly.
Now, there are quarterbacks that can't do that and scale it back. And, you have to see if Jordan Love is capable of doing that. But if they start having that type of season where they're playing from the lead and it's 14-0, here comes Micah Parsons pinning his ears back, becomes much easier for the quarterback than when he's trying to win close games or trying to come back on that last drive, and you might have to take a chance. It's a lot. The complementary nature of football is bigger than people realize when it comes to quarterback play.
It is. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I thought John also gave some good insight just into, where the Cowboys are strong and what they're trying to do. I thought his comments on George Pickens were interesting. Dak is a good thrower of the football, John. I know Eagles fans are on his back because he can't seem to win in the playoffs and whatever the case may be, 9-10 years now, and only 2 playoff wins. But they added George Pickens. If they can block it all on the front, I think that tandem of receivers.
Well, I think that's positive for the Eagles is that Guyton's unlikely to play.
Yeah.
And even, Diggs might play, might not play. That's big for the Eagles because they're both full participants. So you say, all right, well, they're full participants on Monday, for a Thursday game. That would typically indicate they're going to play. Not the case, it seems, with Tyler Guyton. So Nate Thomas is, unproven player. But again, it's Alex Hunt. It's not Josh Sweat. So are the Eagles going to be fully able to take advantage of that? It's going to be an interesting matchup if it comes to fruition like that.
No doubt about it, John. Good stuff. We're going to get to our first commercial break. I want to welcome and thank. I'm going to get to the super chat as well. I'm going to welcome and thank everybody for being here. We got a great crowd, John. I know you can't say it. We're up to 980. All right, so we're almost at that 4-digit mark. I know you like to hit it. So big thanks to everybody for being here. Hit that like button for us. Drop your comments down below. All super chats go to the top, and don't forget to subscribe, by the way, to our YouTube channel. I think 30% of our watchers on Birds are watchers every day, and they don't subscribe to the channel. What's up with that, guys? It's free. Hit the subscribe button. So let's get some more subscribers in here. Appreciate all of you guys for being here. Let's go to our super chat from our main man, Jason A-Team. A $10 super chat, our longest standing JAKIB Legend member. Thank you, Jason A-Team. He checks in and says, do we expect the cornerback 2 to maybe still be a battle? Some other pundits said we might see a rotation at CB2, ? I don't think that's a good thing. Coop at safety and base, so maybe they do rotate. JAKIB fans, salute. What do you think, John?
No, I don't think you're going to see a rotation, but I do think you're going to see a changing of the guard. In the fact that I think Adoree Jackson is going to be the starter early in the season. I think ultimately it's going to be Jacorian Bennett. And when that happens, will probably be a result of Adoree playing poorly at a certain point of the season and then pulling the trigger on Jacorian Bennett, and then he becomes the starter. If an actual rotation, which to me would mean, all right, Adoree gets 2 series and then Jacorian comes in, you're not going to see that. I thought, one of the few things that Vic did say yesterday was about the linebacker rotation. I thought there was a more legitimate chance we would see that. And he admitted, yeah, I don't foresee that. So yeah, not a big rotational guy at positions that are not considered rotational positions. Some are defensive front, some aren't. Quarterbacks in the aren't category. He doesn't want to rotate at cornerback.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think so either. But it will be interesting to see how Dory looks and how quickly Jacorian gets to the field, John. Or Ringo completely ruled out to you? Is he not even in the ballpark? I mean,
not getting mentioned. I think that tells you all you need to know.
And you don't think it's you just to be clear, you don't think it's a subterfuge that you've been talking about?
No, absolutely not. Now that doesn't mean he can't work his way back up if Jackson doesn't play well, if Bennett doesn't play well, that he won't get a second opportunity down the road, especially if he's doing what he needs to do in practice, doing what he needs to do on special teams. He might eventually get that second opportunity, but he's not in the conversation right now. No, not at all.
John, and look, it's come. John is low-key a Packers. John, you're a fan of the entire NFC North.
Yes.
I don't know how you can be a fan of a whole division, but John is a fan of the whole NFC North.
Well, it's funny because, I covered the Vikings for a long time. I say it all the time. And Vikings fans used to, a certain segment hated me because they, I talked up the Packers. The Packers at the time had Brett Favre, and the Packers were really, really good. That's what it comes to. Not a low-key Packers fan. I find that amusing because so many people think I'm a Viking. It's hilarious. It's fucking last year was
you're not a fan of, John, at least at this point on September 2nd, 2025, is the Bears.
Last year I was a big Detroit fan. People thought I was a low-key, like John's from Detroit, John Machota. I'm not from Detroit. I never liked the Lions. They were good last year, and they have a ton of talent. That's all it's about. The Packers are good. That's all it's about.
They do.
That's all it's about.
We'll see. They got some holes, but we'll see. Lucido. What's up, brother? Appreciate you being here, man. Thanks for the super chat. He says Packers don't have good corners or defensive tackles. Run game. What do you think of that? They do have some weaknesses on that.
Well,
defense.
Everybody has some. You think the Eagles don't have weaknesses?
No, I think they do.
I assume. Well, I'm talking, to the commenter. Everybody has weaknesses. Of course, the Packers have weaknesses, but they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. The Eagles have weaknesses, but they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. You really that excited about watching Adoree Jackson against CeeDee Lamb or Jacorian Bennett? You really that excited about Sidney Brown playing safety? You're really that excited about? No, the Eagles have weaknesses. Packers have weaknesses as well. They're both of those teams are one of the 5 or 6 that can legitimately call themselves a Super Bowl contender. I don't know if the Packers were that before getting Micah Parsons. I think they are now in that group. And the Cowboys traded him to the Packers, which, again, I think the immediate reaction of most Eagles fans was, that's great. Get him out of the division. I don't think it's great. Because if you see him in the playoffs.
Oh, I love the point you brought up yesterday about other dynasty teams and who threw them off their game. It actually wasn't division rivals, which I thought was really good context by you.
Yeah, which is why I brought up the Netflix show with the Cowboys. It takes you through the Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Urban Cowboys. It wasn't the Eagles. It wasn't the Giants. It was the 49ers.
Right.
And that will become the case. May become the case with the Eagles and Packers, both ways. Who beats each other for the next at least 2-3 years. And believe me, they will become a hated rival. And Yeah, I'll get more hate for being a Packers fan. But yeah, that's a good one. Send that one to Pumper.
I haven't seen Pumper in a little bit. Is Pumper all right? Pumper, are you out there? Where's Pumper been?
Yeah.
Sammy Livingston. What's up, Sammy? Appreciate you being here, brother. $5 super chat. He checks in. John and Zander, over or under half a sack for Jordan Davis against the Cowboys?
I would say over under. Who cares? But
I was going to say, Sammy, you're about to get ripped.
I mean, one sack. I mean, look, you can get a sack because the quarterback runs into you because Jalen Carter makes him run into you. I mean, sacks to me are useless. But if you force me to, I'd take the under because he's not a big sack guy. But I mean, it's easy to get one sack if things fall the right way. It might not even be your doing. So yeah, I would say who cares would be the proper answer, but forced to give an answer, I take the under because he's not a big sack guy.
Yeah, Sammy, good stuff. Appreciate it, man. Prince Swayze checking in. What's up, Prince? Good to see you, my brother. $5 super chat from Prince. He says, J Mac, do you think Vic has higher expectations for Jordan Davis this season? I have a sneaky feeling that Davis can have a breakout season. So back-to-back super chats on Jordan Davis, John. This one framed a little bit more for a Johnny Mac answer. What do you think?
I think you should be focused more on Moro Ajomo. I think that's the guy that Vic is very excited about. I think Jordan's a very good player. He's been a very good player. He'll continue to be a very good player, but he has a defined role. And I think especially from a fan's perspective, you will notice Moro Ajomo more if everything goes to plan because he's going to be the pass rusher. He's going to be the sack guy. He's going to be the splash play guy. Whereas Jordan is going to do the dirty work. Tie up other people, tie up multiple blockers so other people can get their work done. So you need dirty work players. Jordan Davis is a dirty work player.
Well, I do think it's I agree with you, but we debated this a little bit in the offseason, John, just like what Moro can be, and you thought I was downplaying what Milton was a little bit, which is fine, but I kind of look at Jordan and Moro as like they collectively have to be what Jordan, Milton, and Moro were all three together last year, if that makes sense. Like those three players' output last year,
well,
Jordan
I think
and Moro have to make up for the loss of Milton kind of collectively together and be what they were last year as well. Is that too much to ask of them, or do you see what I'm saying with it?
No, yeah. Vic has already said it's going to take more than one to replace what Milton did last year. One of the things that Milton did was he got better. Not that he was great, but obviously he's a pass rusher. But they felt comfortable after early in the season. It was after the New Orleans game. They felt comfortable. You'll see they shifted a lot, and they didn't play a lot of 50 fronts really in the second half of the season when they figured out they could stop the run with 4. And that's the goal. If they can't, you'll see more 15, even 6-man fronts, which they did against New Orleans early in the season. So a lot of it depends on, again, situation. Playing from the lead helps because then you're pass rushing a lot. You can make a team one-dimensional, so that helps. But yeah, I mean, Jordan's going to play more. He's got to play more just from the bare raw snap count. And that will obviously, if you play more, there's an opportunity to generate more. But I really think people need to forget about the sack number completely when it comes to Jordan Davis. I think they should forget about it completely and focus on pressure percentage. But that's never going to happen. But I think when it comes to Jordan Davis, don't worry about sacks, is my advice. Just don't forget about it. Forget about it. Again.
Yeah, but I think what people are looking for, I mean, I hear you. I agree with you. I'm not looking for sacks in Jordan Davis, but I do think there's a a natural progression that fans are looking for? Like, how is he developing as a player? And where I think you're right is that most
Well,
fans
and
sacks is
the
not what
hope
to
is he
look
gets
for. But what should they be looking for? You know what I mean? Like, if it's not sacks and it's not a better pass rusher, is it just to be a better version of the run stopper?
well,
Like,
no,
what is the progression?
no, the progression is to be better as a pass rusher. But again, to me, it's like when it's 3rd and 10, you don't want him on the field. Who are you taking off the field?
No, I
So
agree.
you have
with
poor edge rush. You have not a poor edge. You have poor rushers. Obviously, it's going to be Jalen Carter, Moro Ajomo, Nolan Smith, and Jalix Hunt. If everything is those are your 4 guys. Like, why does everybody want Jordan Davis on the field to be a big pass rusher in those situations? It makes no sense to me. It certainly makes no sense to the Eagles. Now, when it's 1st and 10 and a team decides to throw the football, you want to see a bigger impact as a pass rusher, which you saw a little bit in the playoffs. And there were some positive signs. So, yeah, you want to see improvement as a pass rusher. But these people hyper focused on sacks, he's not going to be in a position. Most sacks come in obvious passing situations for obvious reasons. He's generally not going to be on the field in obvious passing situations because he's a nose tackle, primary, first and foremost. You don't put nose tackles on the field in obvious pass rushing situations. This is one that, makes me bang my head against the wall. I don't even understand why it's a conversation. Same thing last year. 3rd and 10. Well, you want Milton on the field. 3rd and 10 this year. Well, you want Morrow on the field. Why would you not want them on the field? That is, I think, the question that should be posed to everyone who poses those questions. Why do you want Jordan Davis on the field in obvious passing situation? Doesn't make sense. Now, if you have nobody who can rush the passer, maybe the equation changes. But the Eagles have good interior pass rushers. Carter being obviously off the charts, and Milton was very good last year, and now they think Morrow is going to be very good.
So what do you think Vic's expectations are for him? Just to kind of bring it back to Prince's original question. What is Vic? I mean, forget what I think or what you think or what any of the fans think. What is Vic's expectation for Jordan Davis this year? Just to be better?
I guarantee it's got nothing to do with sacks.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that.
It's got to do with doing his job, and he already is good at his job, and he wants him to get better at his job. So just as I said, he wants to be a classic 2-down run stuffer, and he wants him to improve and get a better push and a better interior push as a pass rusher. I think, the best comparisons for Jordan Davis, I always say, are not Dexter Lawrence or the rare nose tackle that's a good pass rusher. It's, the Vita Veas of the world, the Haloti Nadas when he was early in his career. Those are the names I always bring up. That's what you want from Jordan Davis. And that's certainly what Vic wants. I guarantee you Vic never mentions the word sacks with Jordan Davis.
I agree. You think he he reaches the point of above the demarcation line here in Philly, John, and gets the contract? I mean, I think he's on path to, but it's just hard to think about with all the guys they're going to end up paying, John. Like, I'm wondering about Reed. Now, I think Reed's going to be signed. I really do. I think he's going to be signed, but I'm just saying it's not crazy to think, all right, they got to pay all these guys plus what they have on the payroll on offense. Like, do you think Jordan gets to the level where they do keep him here long-term at, I don't know, $18 million a year, $20 million a year, whatever it is?
I think it depends on Morrow a lot of ways. Like, if Morrow comes out and has a great season, all of a sudden you're looking at, well, you can't pay Jalen Carter 40 plus million, and then down the road pay Milton Williams 30 plus million. So Morrow Jomo, 30 plus million. So maybe then you cobble it together and say, well, Jordan Davis is doing a great job. And the second part, it's really hard to find nose tackles. Really hard to find good nose tackles. Eagles have been looking for a back. They don't have a backup nose tackle. So it's really hard to find those guys. It's easier to find 3 techniques. Not that it's easy, but it's easier. So that might factor into it as well. But yeah, the price point has got to be realistic. And there might be somebody who has nothing on the interior and decides to overpay Jordan Davis. So a lot of it depends on the other teams and what his market will be.
I agree. We'll see what ends up happening. Prince, good stuff there. I think we got one more super chat. Big Marsh checking in. We all know who started that narrative. I don't know what he's referring to. Narrative on Jordan. Oh, I think it kind of came with the draft spot there. I think I just saw a comment in here that said, well, he wasn't drafted to be a run stopper. You know what I mean? Like I think that came with the and John, this is why you called it from Jump Street, an esoteric pick. And I think that's where the narrative honestly came from.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think the Eagles can worry about that.
Like, I agree with you. I agree.
I mean,
that's done and over with.
They didn't draft him to be a pass rusher. They didn't. Now, did they think he might be a little bit better of a pass rusher? Yeah, I think that's fair. More towards the Vita Vea style. No, not a style. I think that was the hope. But yeah, they didn't draft him to be a 10-sack interior guy.
No, they didn't. Big Marsh, appreciate the super chat. Appreciate everybody for the super chats today. Guys, 2 days, 11 hours until the game. All right, so we are moving, baby. We are getting closer to this game. I am jacked up. I'm ready for the season to start. John, are you feeling a sense of excitement for the season, or are you in full-fledged mode? What do you think, John? Come on, give me some excitement, J-Mac.
I'm in full-fledged edge mode. I got too much to do to be excited. I mean,
you and me both, brother.
I literally did not know what day it was yesterday. I was telling Zander before the show. I'm texting people about Wednesday's show, thinking it's Wednesday. Thinking it's Wednesday tomorrow. This was last night. I was literally a zombie last night. At some point, about 9 o'clock, my body just decided to shut down. I'm like texting Mike Gill about Wednesday. It's like Monday.
They're even worse for you guys. You know what I mean?
They're awful. They're awful.
Yeah.
We don't get out of the locker room until past 5 o'clock yesterday.
Yeah, right.
It's a little bit earlier today, but
how was the second locker room session of the year? You were waiting to kind of get back into the locker room, John.
Yeah, well, it'll a little bit difficult this week because I think there's more people in there. It'll get better as the season goes on, but that's where you get, one-on-ones and get interesting info. Ty Robinson, like, to me, that's in. He got Brandon Graham's locker, that kind of stuff. That to me is interesting.
I didn't like that one. I thought maybe somebody else should have got beat. Maybe like a Nolan. I guess Nolan already had his locker, but to me, he's like the natural progression of following up Brandon Graham with the.
They moved. It's interesting, They moved Nolan Smith from his locker, so he's now with the. He used to be with the linebackers. Now he's with the defensive front people. I mean, it's not like they decided to. And Ty didn't even know it was Brandon until we got in there. So he's been there since, day one. He had no idea it was Brandon Graham's locker. Nobody told him. Nobody said anything. Nope, did not know till the reporters got in there. And
no wonder BG hasn't showed back up, man. He's been treated like chopped liver, man. They give his locker to a rookie, and nobody even tells him.
No, well, that's what it doesn't work that way. Like the left tackle locker, which is the last one on the right hand side for many years, was Jason Peters. Now it's Jordan Mailata. So you say, well, there's a Hall of Fame player, one of the best left tackles in the league. If they have a shitty left tackle moving forward, they'll get that locker. It's not about, as everybody knew, but Nobody has played more seasons, played more games for the Philadelphia Eagles than Brandon Graham. Nobody in the history of this organization. So, but he knows, and everybody knows, and Fletcher is gone as well, and now Morrow's got his locker. It's, everybody's renting space in that locker room. Doesn't matter how long you last, you're not going to last forever. So, it's not like they're going to retire your locker. There's not enough space at the NovaCare complex. So, next guy gets the locker. It just happened to be Ty.
Yeah, good stuff there. Appreciate everybody for being here today. All right, hit that like button. We got well over 1,000. As John, I got to update him because he's not live. John, I'll text you what to do real quick after the show so you can get that fixed for tomorrow's show. I want to thank everybody for being here. We've had a good crowd in here. All right, and again, 2 days, just under 11 hours from kickoff and from the banner drop. Is anybody going to the game? Any of our great supporters here on Birds 365 going to the game? You got to drop it in. I'd like to hear from you guys as well. Big Marshall checks in. Again, $10 super chat. Thank you to all the super chats today. They go to the top. Thank you, John. If anyone watched Jordan Davis, he's never been a sack guy. He is an above-average nose that explains his draft position. Salute to the show. Thank you, Big Marsh.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to explain his role for years. It's difficult, and that's why he used it when they drafted him.
Yeah.
But of all the stats, and I'm not a stat guy, and anybody who listens to this show knows I'm not a stat guy, but of all the stats, I think that's the worst of them all. And that's saying something. Just from the context standpoint. And it's just, Chris Long used to talk about this as a guy who used to get sacks. He said it all the time. He says it on his own podcast. It's like, sometimes I run into a sack because, Fletcher Cox had dominant inside pressure and the quarterback had nowhere to go.
Right.
Sometimes he made the play, like in the NFC Championship game. He made the play that Patrick Robinson took back to the pick six and crushed the Vikings' soul. It was the biggest play of the game, and Patrick got all the credit because he got the pick six, but it was really Chris Long making that play. Wasn't even a sack. Pretty impactful, wasn't it? I used to have this argument with Chody all the time. It's
this was your
this
is probably one of your guys' biggest arguments.
Now there is something to the big time. There is something to finishing because the big time consistent edge rushers.
Right. And I think that's where some people you lose them, but I think that's where they would push back is that how does a sack not mean something when you change field position, when you lose it down, when things like that.
A sack is never, I've always said this, it's never a negative thing from a defensive standpoint. It's always a positive thing. It's not necessarily a positive thing for that player. In essence, it might be the other player's positive play.
Right.
Who ran him into the sack that Chris was trying to explain. Listen to Chris. He did it. He'll be the one to tell you. I mean, he's an edge rusher, and even he admits, the context of each sack has to be looked at individually. Sometimes it's a great play. Sometimes it's your teammate's great play. It's never a negative thing because you're always either losing yardage, whatever. Another a negative thing, but what I would try to explain is, in using Chris as the example in the NFC Championship game, sometimes it's even better if you just get the pressure because the pressure creates an interception, a pick six in that instance. Sometimes it's even better. That's what I tried to point out.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. Appreciate everybody. Big Marsh, thanks for the super chats today, brother. JD3 checking in. JD, you haven't had a good week. Let's see if you bounce back today. I'm ready to watch my boy Tyler Steen put Kenny Clark in a blender. I have zero doubts about Thursday. Birds win 34-12.
I think that's a little much, but 34
I
to
don't think
12.
Tyler Steen is the guy.
Yeah, I
Look,
don't think.
I hope Tyler has a good year, but Kenny Clark is a better player than Tyler Steen.
Yeah. The Eagles had their way with Kenny Clark in the playoffs last
They
year.
did,
But
yeah, they did. But I mean, John, if you think about it, if potentially Dickerson is out, maybe I don't know if he will be, and then you have no Mekhi Becton. I mean, that is a different beast, with two new guards in there handling a guy like Kenny Clark. I still think they're positioned to handle it, but it would change a lot for sure.
yeah, I still think Landon's going to play. We'll get a better indication today, but a lot of what they handled him with were combo blocks, obviously. So it's not just the one guy. It's usually Cam and Tyler working together, and then in this instance, it usually was Jordan and Landon wiping them out in the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, but I would agree with your assessment that Kenny Clark is a better player than Tyler Steen.
Yeah, I don't think that's I don't think that's hard to project. John, I think you'll appreciate this comment right here. Sliger says, "Wake the F up" in all caps. Zach effing Bond said, "You want to see how good I'm playing? Watch Jordan Davis." And I think that does kind of show you what Jordan does for the defense, not including stats right there.
Yeah. Well, but it's hard for a lot of people to understand, but yeah, Zach did say that. And
yeah.
Yeah, it's a big part of it. Keep the linebackers clean. That's why Nakobe had a good year.
Yeah.
And not just, again, the Eagles want him to get better as an interior pass rusher. They want an increase, more consistent push, and they think him being in better shape will be the answer to that. And he's in better shape, so maybe it will be the answer to that. But he's never going to be Jalen Carter as a pass rusher. He's never going to be Moro Ajomo as a pass rusher. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, right. And I think that's fair to set those expectations. Amwan checks in. What's up, Amwan? Good to see you, brother. He says, "I will be there. Me and sister, lower level seats." Amwan, do me a favor. Look up at the press box. Locate the man, the myth, the legend, John McMullen, and give him a wave, Amwan. I think John might see you and wave back to you. Good stuff, brother. Congrats on going to the game. That should be an awesome game to be at for the Eagles, especially as an Eagles fan. Watching that banner drop is obviously not something that comes around often. So you got to appreciate it, take it all in, and enjoy it. Amwan, thank you, brother, for being here. Let's get to our commercial break. Again, thanks everybody for being here. Hit that like button. Great show so far today. John Machota was awesome. Loved listening to him, kind of behind enemy line segment here on Birds 365. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back, everybody, in 3 minutes here on Birds 365.
The following is a presentation of JAKIB Sports.
If you're a small business owner or you work for a company that loves the Birds, you need to react fast before we've used up our entire ticket allocation. And here's why. In celebration of JAKIB Media's new partnership with Savvy Seats, JAKIB Media will give you a pair of VIP tickets for any game on the 2025 schedule, home or away. And we'll give your company or your boss a 20-week media sponsorship package across the #1 digital network for Eagles coverage, JAKIB Sports. And that includes all of our game day coverage. Cost for your business or company? About $50 a week. Let's recap everything. 20-week sponsorship package on JAKIB Sports, including commercial spots, live reads, and liners. Inclusion in all of our game day coverage, including the soon-to-be-announced Green Zone, and a pair of tickets to the home opener or any game on the 2025 regular season schedule. Remember, that's home or away. If you're in Kansas City and you want to go to the game against the Chiefs, no problem. If you live in Florida and you want to go to the game in Tampa Bay at the end of September, no problem. Text Krause at 267-261-3428. That's 267-261-3428. And remember, do it quickly before this incredible gift is gone. JAKIB Sports and Savvy Seats put you right in the action with VIP seating, as we are proud to announce our partnership for the 2025 season with Savvy Seats. Text Krause right now at 267-261-3428. That's 267-261-3428. And pick your game today. If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio, or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen, checking in on a Tuesday edition. We are 2 days and just under 11 hours away from kickoff for the 2025 NFL season. John, we've been talking about it all off season, waiting for this moment, and it is finally here. All right, just a couple of days, it will commence the banner drop, the season opener. Looking forward to all of that. John, we talked to John Machota in hour number one. He was excellent, by the way, covering the Dallas Cowboys for The Athletic. You guys should follow him at John Machota. But I asked him a question. If the Cowboys win this game, if they upset the Eagles, what would they have to do to make it happen? I want to get your perspective on that. What do you think? Like, where could this game go wrong? Because obviously we're not Cowboys perspective. We're an Eagles perspective. Where could this game go wrong for the Birds? It feels like, John, I don't want to get ahead of myself any given Sunday in the NFL, but it feels like the only advantage the Cowboys have in this game is that it's week one, and there's the uncertainty. But where could this thing go wrong for the Birds if it did go wrong in your eyes?
Yeah, I definitely think the secondary, with the younger players, and not a Dory being a young player, but with the unproven player, and then Sidney Brown on the back end. When you look at CeeDee Lamb, you look at George Pickens, you look at Jalen Tolbert, Kevontae Turpin, which John brought up as a guy the Eagles have tremendous respect for, more of a manufactured touch guy. Jake Ferguson, very good tight end. They could win a shootout, and I could see them pounding, with Dory Jackson and the help on that side of the field. But, they don't have a running game. Probably going to have a backup left tackle. So the Eagles, this is one which is also unproven. The unproven edges, whether it's Felix Hunt or Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche's banged up. Who knows how healthy he's going to be? Can they complement Nolan Smith? So, to me, if they were going to win, it's going to be a shootout, and they're going to win like 34-30, I would think, is the only way. And turnovers will be a big part of that. And the Eagles were sloppy last year at the start of the season. There's no reason to think they're not going to be a little bit sloppy to start this season because, as I said, they may have, I can't say it officially, but they may have not had one rep together with their 11 starters, or 11 projected starters. And if they had any reps, it was very few. So, they're all good. We know they're all proven. And I still think Landon's going to play. How healthy, different conversation. But, and they're all good players for the most part, with the one question mark being Tyler Steen. I think he'll be fine. I don't think he's going to be great, but I think he'll be fine. And I think the offense will be very good as the season wears on, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were sloppy in week one. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Good stuff there, John. And then on the inverse, I do agree with everything you laid out there. On the inverse of that, if it goes right for the Eagles, what's clicking? What's clicking to start the year? Is it as simple as that run game works, keeps them in,
Yeah,
keeps
I
the
think so.
possession, keeps the field position, and allows that defense to kind of settle in.
Yeah, I think it's getting a quick lead, playing, if you play with a 2-score lead, it's going to be pretty easy. They can really start going downhill against a team that, Mozzie Smith and John talked about just what a disaster he's been as a first round pick. And he was a late first round pick as opposed to being as a run stopper. And even as a late first round pick, people expect more. And he doesn't even stop the run well. So that was a disaster of a pick for them, at least to this point. So they should get a little bit better with Kenny, but he just got there. How much does he know about that defense? Maybe the most interesting thing is Eberflus because of his history with Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo. They know each other. Nick tried to downplay it. I asked him that question. Kevin did as well, but they know each other. They know his default setting. He knows their default settings. So maybe because the Eagles are more have more constants, that idea of uncertainty, of unscouted looks is a slight advantage, I would say, for the Cowboys because they've had more change. Head coach is different. The defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator. Well, they're all different.
Experience though, man. A lot of inexperience there.
Well, not a defensive coordinator.
Not defensive coordinator. Who's the offensive coordinator? Yeah.
And Brian is, been around for a long time and been a play caller. Like he's got more experience as a play caller than Kevin Patullo.
Yeah. I was thinking that offensive coordinator that Machota brought up with the
Clayton Adams. Yeah. Well, he's there to improve the run game, as he said, because he was an offensive line coach. So, but again, they're talking about Javonte Williams and Jaden Blue, and Miles Sanders is not healthy, our old buddy. They don't have good running backs. The offensive line is interesting from the perspective of Tyler Booker, I've mentioned, is an interesting player to me because I don't know what he's going to be. He's either going to bully people or he's either going to be overmatched athletically. It looks like Guyton's a full participant, but he's not going to play, according to John. So you have a backup left tackle, Nathan Thomas. Terrence Steele, those are the guys. He's the right tackle. Those are the guys you have to take advantage of. Nolan Smith, I'm comfortable with. I'm not comfortable with anybody else. I've been very honest about that on the edge for the Eagles.
Yeah, and I think it's exacerbated a little bit just by the secondary concerns, right? I mean, what's the best cure for a bad secondary? Obviously, getting after the quarterback, and if the Eagles aren't able to do that, could kind of play complementary against them in a way. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Let's go to some super chats here. Bird Gang checks in. What's up, Bird Gang? Best cure for Best cure for an unproven secondary is a good pass rush. Howie will need to bring someone in if the team who's signing shit the bed.
Yeah, he will. I'm surprised he hasn't already. Well, he did bring in Obo. I think people forget.
Yeah, I think that's
well, he's on the team. It wouldn't be.
That's not what you're, John. I don't even think that's what you were thinking when you said bring someone in.
Well, no, I mean, like he might be that. No, I just meant from you being the perspective. Like, if he's their third edge rusher, would not surprise me at all.
I think it's going to be Uche. They continue to kind of talk highly.
Well, he's not healthy.
Uche. I know, right? He missed yesterday, or was he limited?
No, he's limited.
Limited.
So I don't know. Yeah, he's definitely been the third guy in camp. He surpassed Azeez Ojulari. But I'm saying if they don't play well early, like it wouldn't surprise me at all if Obo was like the third edge rusher by week 3. And yeah, they would have to bring somebody in, but You know, he signed on July 22nd, so he signed a day before camp, basically. Now, yeah, they need a splashier addition. I agree with you. But what I'm saying, when you talk about Ojulari, Uche, and Agbo, all Nigerian descent, by the way. Obo, sorry. If you talk about those,
I gotta be honest, I like Agbo way better.
well, I mean, it's pronounced Obo.
Yeah,
it's
I
not,
know.
not up to me, but
No, I know.
I screw it up. But yeah, of those three, he could easily be the best, is all I'm trying to say. And he definitely looks the most detailed and fundamental, which will be big with Vic. That's all I'm trying to say, is that those three guys are basically all dart throws.
They are going to be good. Going to be a good night on Thursday night, John. With the banner dropping, look, you said yesterday, you know, one of the things that you can look back on is kind of the great players that you've covered, and I think it will be cool. I know you downplay, but I think it will be cool to see a banner drop. Now I know you don't pay much attention to it, but it is a moment in well,
history. It's big for the fans. Me personally, I don't remember the last one. But
don't you think that's one of the things like you can look back on and say, yeah, I did get to see that? You know, like John Machota, he just got done listening.
Well,
it's been fun, but we don't see any of that.
Well, the problem is pregame, I might be doing something else. So
yeah,
it's not a matter of, you know, I'll remember the game, the Super Bowl. The banner's not that big of a deal for me personally, but it's you. I'm not downplaying. I'm not downplaying it from a fan's perspective, but I imagine when they're doing it, I'm going to be doing something else. So it's not a matter of like, I'm not going to stop and say, oh, I got to stop everything and, watch the banner drop. That's all I'm trying to say. But for the fans, it's huge.
Yeah, it's cool.
Huge deal.
Definitely fun. Definitely a cool thing to experience. I mean, only the second one, guys, in 50 years. So it's 60 years. So take it in, enjoy it. If you're a fan and you're down there at the game, I know our boy Amwan's going down there. A couple other people, I think, put in the chat that they're heading to the game. So big shout out to all the Birds 365 community. John, where do you think the Eagles have the biggest advantage in this game that they can try and exploit and take advantage of with the Cowboys?
They have advantages all over the place. I mean, they're just a better team. So, I mean, they should be able to exploit a number of things. But, I mean, you start with what they do well, and what they do well offensively is running the football. So, I mean, the Cowboys still aren't a good run defense team. That's because they got Kenny Clark, who's been there for a week. So, I mean, they are what they are. And that's what they'll try to lean on. That's what they'll lean on their offensive line. The difference between this year is you could usually say they'll lean on their offensive line and defensive front. I don't know if they can lean on their defensive front. Offensive line they can lean on. Somewhat, complicated by Landon's injury. But again, I'm presuming he's going to play. And we'll see how that shakes out. Defensively, Jalen Carter, is going to be good. They're going to be good on the interior. It's just a matter of how good. But edge is a bigger question mark, and it typically isn't a bigger question mark. So more uncertainty there, but always with the Eagles, especially in these early games, they're going to try to lean on their offensive front and defensive front. That's how they build this thing. That's what Howie said. That's how we roll. That's what they lean on. Offensive line, defensive front.
Which not to go backwards because we're 2 days out from the start, but which does always, I said this on the show, the afternoon show the other day. I'm like, still surprising to me that the Eagles let Milton walk. Like, I understand it because of from the money, but If you told me the Eagles were going to draft a defensive tackle in the 3rd round and he would amount to what he amounted to and earn $28 million in the open market, I'd say, yeah, the Eagles didn't let that guy go. That's exactly what they're looking for. But they've drafted so well, John, they had to let him walk. And a guy who is really fits what they pride themselves in, and they still let him walk, which shows you where they are in terms of managing the cap. They are in a tough crux period here where they're going to have to play their cards right all over the roster.
Yeah, it's a good place to be where you have too many good players.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So, and but they did lose good players. That's the bad part of it. And those good players are going to be difficult to replace. And to me, I'm shifting towards Slay being the most difficult, and Josh a close second, just because of what has developed. And it doesn't look like they have answers, or at least great answers at those positions. But we'll see how it shakes out.
Yep, no doubt about it, John. A couple minutes left, 8 minutes left here on a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. I hope everybody had a great Labor Day yesterday in Eagle Land. All right, there is no Labor Day, 4 days out from the game yesterday. So we were preparing and we had a show yesterday. I want to thank and welcome everybody for being here today. We appreciate everybody, as always, for checking in. John, with the Cowboys game coming up, what do we miss? I mean, I think we discussed everything in terms of preparing. We'll obviously do more of a game breakdown as we get closer to the game, but I think we've buttoned up most of the off-season conversations. I think we know Sidney Brown's probably going to start in this game, barring Makuba being fully healthy. I don't know. Do you still feel like it's going to be Sidney Brown starting this game?
Yeah, I do. I think they're going to get to Makuba pretty quickly.
How quick? Like week 2, week 3?
Early in the season, when he's healthy. I think it's pretty clear that Vic prefers Drew Makuba because of his coverage ability, but he's still dealing with that hamstring. So I do expect Sidney to start, Jihad to start, Adoree Jackson to start. And long term, I expect it to be longer term. I expect it to be Bennett, Campbell, Makuba. But yeah, I think that's where we're headed for week 1 and the longer term aspect.
You feeling good about Tyler Steen, John, replacing Mekhi Becton, who was really an excellent player, especially in the run game last year?
Yeah, I think they're going to be a little bit different. I don't think you're going to see as many pancakes. But I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, I think he's had a pretty good camp. He's had a pretty good summer so far, right? Well, it's now over, but he's had a good summer leading into the season.
Yeah, I think he's been fine. I don't want to overstate it. He had some troubles with Morrow, which I think kind of hyped Morrow up and put him down. And he started to. Interestingly, I think he was better against Carter than he was against Morrow, which is interesting. Sometimes it's just styles, more than anything else. And Landon described Morrow as very awkward to block because of his weird frame. He's undersized, but he's got these big, long arms, which is rare. So people can't seem to get into his body from Landon's description. So maybe it's just a style thing. But to me, I don't worry about Tyler Steen in the run game. I worry about him in pass protection.
All right. They had that interior guy who's had pretty good the last couple of years. I think they paid him this offseason. Osa, John brought him up. Osa, Obi, Ziggy.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say his name, but
yeah, he's a good player. He's a good player.
So that would be a good matchup.
And they're better on it. John also said that they're better on the defensive front than I think most people realize.
I was surprised that he was like, that's not a weakness on the team still without Micah Parsons, which was
the problem is it was the obvious strength, and now it becomes just a bunch of capable players. Similar to me at like I think the Eagles have a bunch of good backup cornerbacks, but I don't know if they have a starter opposite Quignon. They have a bunch of good, solid players who belong in a rotation, Stan Williams, Dante Fowler, most notably. He mentioned Marshawn Nealand. Even if you go down to James Houston, they're all like NFL players. But you don't have what I've been talking about here. Like if you brought in Trey Hendrickson in a perfect world, or even better, Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons in a perfect world, everything would fall into place for the Eagles. Well, everything was in place for the Cowboys because they had the guy, and then they had a bunch of good players behind them. Now Fowler's got to be number one. He's got to be the headliner. Well, he's not a headliner. And then it just doesn't. But they're all NFL. They're all good NFL players.
Right. Good stuff there, John. This is a comment of a guy you can tell who's been listening to some John McMullen this offseason, all right? Eric Long checks in. Z, the banner drop means little to me. A new season, new team, new opponents. They're not defending Super Bowl champs. They don't retain a belt like boxing. They're in the same tournament like everyone else again. Look at that, John. That is a John.
Well, hey, it's a Nick Sirianni thing. Oh, I've been talking about it longer than Nick. Look, I don't understand. College, I'm watching Ohio State, Texas, this weekend. Brutal game, by the way. But, Ohio, you got a bunch of Ohio State, defending champs. They had 14 guys drafted to the NFL. It's even more. I talk about this in pros because you have 30% turnover for about every team, give or take. In college, it's even more. They had 14 guys. They have a different quarterback. Both of their running backs are in the NFL. Both of their edge. They have 2 first-round pick offensive linemen are in the NFL. Not the same freaking team. Right. Are they the reigning champions? Of course. I don't think Will Howard's in Pittsburgh. I don't think he's defending anything.
No, he's not.
Simmons is in Kansas City, I think. He's not defending anything. Donovan Jackson, first round, he's in Minnesota. He's not defending anything. Jack Sawyer, I forget where he went. He made the big play in the Nationals. He's not defending anything. So to that point, but I will say for the fans, no, it's a big deal. The banner drop's a big deal for the fans. I'm not dismissing that from a fan's perspective. Sanders' question way back when he first asked me was like, yeah, I don't know what I was doing. Maybe I was on a pregame show with you guys. I don't know, but I don't remember it. There's other shit going on. Like to me personally, like it's not that big of a deal. For the fans, it should be a huge deal. I have no problem with that. But
Brian Pump checks in, John. One more super chat here to end out the show. I said, where's Pumper been? I didn't see him yesterday. Here he is. He checks back in, and he's pouring some water on our fire. He says, sorry, fellas.
Well, you gotta get Pump. Where's the Pump? Somebody accused me of being a huge Packers fan. You missed it.
Oh, yeah.
You
Pumper,
missed it.
We now have Lions, Vikings, Packers, but we know for sure it's not the Bears, so 3 of 4 in the North. He says, sorry, fellas, I see Dallas catching us slipping. Saquon getting too many accolades. QB1 seems satisfied, and we got Coop releasing a serial. No focus, SMH. Cooper did release a serial yesterday. I'm like, really? You had to wait till September?
I did start the show with Saquon was number 1 on whatever list that is. And
yeah, so I think it's the one voted by the peers, right?
Well, I thought that was the top 100. I thought that was the TV show they did in the I don't know.
I can't keep up, man.
I can't keep up with them either. But to me, that was different timing. The one they going up, but I don't know. But it's a bad day for the disrespect the Eagles because they are not disrespected in this league. But yeah, Saquon was number 1. I don't think Saquon, is very humble. He's always been very humble. I don't think that kind of stuff matters. Cooper released the serial. I didn't even know.
Yeah, he released that yesterday. I saw it on Instagram or something.
Good for him. Yeah, I mean that's part of being the Super Bowl champions, you get a lot of shit. So you have to handle it well. And we're going to see if they handle it well.
Cooper Crunch. There's Cooper DeGene
Good
chilling
for
with
him, man. Good for
with
him.
his box of cereal. All right, there's Cooper Crunch. There you go, Cooper Shiesty, sitting there with a box of cereal, pouring a bowl of
Good for him.
Yeah, it is good for him. But yeah, you don't want to be distracted. I don't think he is.
I'd rather him do cereals than go out every night.
Well, I think he did both.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? This guy's been ripping the Jersey Shore all summer, John.
That's what I mean. I'd rather the cereal thing doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
But he's young enough. He can handle it.
He's young. He can handle it. He's got a lot of attention this offseason, too. Johnny Mac, great show today, man. Your final thoughts on this Tuesday edition. What time is practice today, by the way?
They just pushed it back, of course. Nick Sirianni was going to go at 11:45. I think he's now at 12:05-ish. He'll be late. Practice 12:50. Moved it back. Locker room 2:00, which is better than 5:00. So.
Yeah, so a little bit better that way. Good stuff there. Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. We will talk to you tomorrow on a Wednesday edition as we get one day closer to the 2025 NFL season kicking off.
Hopefully I figure out what day it is before I start texting people.
Yeah, we should have Gil and BLG tomorrow, right? I think that's where we are. So tomorrow's Wednesday, John. Today is Tuesday. The next time you see me will be a Wednesday morning. All right, my friend?
All right, sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, J Mac. There's Johnny Mac. John McMullen joining us here on a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 as we inch closer to the 2025 NFL season. Birds set to kick off the season versus the Dallas Cowboys at home, an 8:20 kickoff on NBC. Okay. Banner drop night. I think that's a fun night. Don't let Johnny Mac say it's not. All right. I think he did say that for the fans, it's a fun thing. It is a fun thing, man. We've had 2 of these in 60 effing years. Okay. So I think it's a big thing. It's an exciting thing that the banner is dropping. Brian Pumper really wants me to address Bama. Yeah, what? Pumper, you think I didn't expect this? You went from Nick Saban to a Pac-12 guy. And the Pac-12 guy brought in all new Pac-12 guys. Yeah, you don't bring in Pac-12 guys to win in the SEC, Brian Pumper. You just don't. All right? You just don't do it. That guy ridded that program of everything that made that program successful. No discipline, no real approach, no leadership, no growing boys to men. None of that. They got rid of everything that Saban did that made it great. Pumper, the talent's not the problem, my friend. They had a number 3 recruiting class in college football. I got plenty of talent on that team. Plenty of talent. That's not the problem. That's not the problem. All right. That was coaching in game 1. That was ugly, my friend. That was ugly. But, yeah, no good, man. No good. Speaking of boys to men, I don't know what you're referring to. Cowboys? Charm and soft. Bird Gang Girls. All right, guys. They got plenty of stuff to talk about here on Zander Time today. There's a couple things that I want to discuss. I will get into the game as well with you guys a little bit. I thought John Machota was awesome today. I love going behind enemy lines and kind of listening to John. He's good too. He knows what the heck he's talking about. So, I liked having him on today. We are going to talk about jersey giveaways this year. For those who remember, we gave away a boatload of jerseys. For those who are new this year, all right, we do have some new people in here that weren't with us last season. So we did a bunch of jersey giveaways last year. We probably gave away, I don't know, what did you guys say, 70 jerseys last year? I think we gave away 15 to 20 for the Saquon giveaway, like when he went over 125 total yards. And then I think I gave away, I don't know, at least probably 40 to 50 after that. So we gave away a lot of stuff last year. We got the jackets we gave away. We gave away some starter jackets last year. We got a lot. So we did a bunch of giveaways, and we're going to be doing a bunch again this year. Now, the one thing I want to set up is the catalyst. All right. I just mentioned I gave away a lot more than just the Saquon jerseys last year, but I do want a catalyst. Like last year, it was something to look forward to. You know what I mean? Like even if it was not the only thing we gave away, it kind of like started the opened up the floodgates, for lack of a better word. All right. So I want to set something this year. I want to set, the hockey jerseys. They were cool. I gave away some shirts. We gave away a bunch of stuff, man. We had all the salute to service stuff we had last year. So we got more stuff to give away for sure. I still have a couple jerseys, actually, that I'll give away as well. I still have some shirts. I got a Cooper DeJean here and Kelly Green. We'll give that away. I know I have a Saquon Barkley with a Super Bowl patch on it that was supposed to be for Josh B., but it's too big for Josh B., so I'm getting Josh B. a new size jersey. All right, so a lot of exciting things there, and then we'll do a lot of that. But what's the catalyst this year? What's the catalyst this year? Rich, I'll give my score prediction on Thursday, all right, brother? Not today. We'll not give a score prediction too early. So Sig Lord says the catalyst for the giveaways this year should be Jalen Hurts combined passing and rushing must exceed 250 yards. Last year, he had 11 games where he had a combined yardage of over 250 passing and rushing. All right, well, 11 games last year is a good number. Now, I think he's going way over that this year. So that could be something that he would get pretty easy. Like, I almost feel like that's pretty easy. I don't know. Like, I like it. But I almost feel like, I don't know, 250 combined yards? I feel like 300 would be a better number. No? Combined? I mean, you see starting quarterbacks getting 300-plus yards pretty easy. Pretty easily. $250 passing? I don't want to do that. Well, I like that, but I don't want to make – I mean, I like Jalen Hurts for what Jalen Hurts brings. He's not just a passing guy. He's not going to be just a passing guy, So I do like adding him in together. I'm not doing any – Rice, drop the Jake Elliott. I'm not doing anything on special teams, all right? Although SFD Eagles would love that because she loves special teams. M. Rice says, keep Saquon 125. I could keep that. I would keep that. I'd be open to that. Try Hurts 300 passing. That will probably happen less often. And Jake 5 field goals. Jake 5 field goals we're dropping. Get rid of it. Not into it. I almost like keeping Saquon because he had such a historic season. Like, the onus will be on for like, all right, how good does he do this year? Can he duplicate it? Can he be as good? Nah, that's lame-o. Sorry, HKP. I don't like it. Secondary jersey giveaway for each pick for Q and Cooper. Not bad. Catalyst, that's not exciting enough, though, Fleming. Send out jerseys when Jalen shows clutch intangibles. I'll be sending out 50 jerseys a week, Keese. This guy's press conferences will be... You'll have a press conference, Keese, and you'll be in here calling for a jersey. Yo, Jalen spoke today. Did you hear those intangibles? That's too subjective, Keese. That is too subjective, especially from a guy like you, Camel Keese. You can't get by me, Keese. Come on, man. He had 3 games of 3. Oh, that's too low. That's too low. 3 games. What is that? 3 giveaways? We're doing more than that. 3 games. Yeah, really. I'll be giving away 350 jerseys. I'll have no profit left. I'll be out of money. I won't make any money this year. I got to make a little money here, guys. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Making an honest wage for the work we're putting in. So I don't know about that. The Jalen, yeah, really, Keith, the amount of Jalenisms, we'll be giving away more jerseys than I know what to do with. 11 is with playoffs too, Xander. That's a liver over. All right, I like that, Sigler. What did you say it was? I'll do that. What did you say it was, Sigler? I think that's a good number because 11 would be a nice amount of jerseys to give away. And if he goes over that, I think that's good. The problem with that is I don't know if I want to do Saquon too. Like, if you do Reyes's, the thing I liked about Reyes was you could have a 2-layered approach, and you could even have weeks where you give 2, and you're watching Saquon and Jalen, which is kind of cool. I can't find Reyes's anymore. Where was that thing? Here it is. Keep Saquon 125. Try Hurts 300 pass, and then this dude, he tries to throw in Jake Elliott 5 field goals. Yeah, no. Not doing that. All right, not doing that. A jersey every time we convert a tush push. Didn't we have like 30 of those last year, Big Drag? Give away a jersey of a player. So you guys, a lot of people want defense this year. I just feel like the defense is harder to attach something to because it's not as much of a statistic-based approach, you know? Got to have something for that ahead of schedule defense. All right, people seem to want defense. I need to send Sills a Silio custom Eagles jersey. Nobody gives a shit about Jake Elliott. There you go, Ryan. Something we agree on. No, I care about Jake Elliott. I think we need him to have a good year, dude. We do. We need him to have a good year. Brian Pumper gets a jersey for every book read on the sideline. Oh, Pumper. Did you pick up your Saquon? No, that thing's still sitting on your front stoop, Brian. That thing was stolen weeks ago, months ago, practically a year ago at this point. Come on, Pump. There's a Saquon jersey with a Zander note sitting on your front stoop. Defense doesn't allow over 17 points. That's not bad, Deshae. All right, so I'm going to have to acquire some Jalen Hurts jerseys quickly, some Saquon Barkley jerseys quickly, and maybe even, I don't know, on defense, a Bond. I know Big Trag won our only Bond. We only had one Bond jersey last year that we gave away. Big Trag got it. That was a good jersey, man, especially once he signed that 3-year extension. I was pumped about that jersey for Big Drag. You know, because obviously Baum was on a 1-year deal. We didn't know if he was coming back for sure. All right. Yeah, here he is. Big Drag. What's up, brother? Good to see you in here. He says, Pumper gets a jersey every time Ringo starts. You'll make out, Big Z. Yeah, he might never give away a jersey. Jersey every time Ringo gets a snap. That might equate to 0 jerseys. All right. That's pretty funny. All right, so this is what I'm going to do, I think. You guys are all over the map. We got to hone in on a couple here. Should we run back to Saquon 125? I feel like that's kind of lame, but should we run that back? Remember, the reason that the Saquon one became a thing last year was because Johnny Mack kind of was down in Saquon. So remember, we kind of like made it from that. Here's Brian. He says, we should have bonus trigger like performance incentives in contracts. Like every time that yappy bitch Stevie barks in a stream or J-Mac turns magenta. So you're saying if you guys can piss off Johnny Mack, you should be rewarded for that. I actually kind of like that, Fleming. I actually kind of like that. Might boost some super chats too, you know? Who can piss Johnny Mack off? If you unlock magenta J-Mac, we got another jersey in the till. We got another jersey in the till. 300 yards passing Hurts giveaways. I think that's an easy one to add. I just don't know how many he's going to get. Yes, Saquon. SMD says no. Yeah, she thinks it's lame to redo it. It doesn't take much to get J-Mac going. Tony, I got your shirt. I'm home. I got to send it out. I'm going to send it out today. Or I might send somebody to send it out today because I'm busy. Look, this is what I'm going to send Tony and Dio. I got these Super Bowl Eagles hats. All right. It says the Champions logo on there. Just a classic midnight green. Got the new era. The NFL logo in there. A new era cap. Gotta love it. Stretch snap. All right, so I'm going to send that to Tony and Dio because they became members on my ZK's Garage channel, which was pretty cool. All right. J-Max heater meter. Oh, my goodness. That's hilarious. Jersey for each J-Mac F-bomb. Did you guys hear how much John was cursing in the opening segment? He dropped like 4 F-bombs on the show immediately. It was pretty funny. I'd argue Saquon has more doubt this year because they never do it 2 years in a row. All right, let's run back to Saquon then, right? Let's run back to Saquon one. I think we run. All right, here's what I'm thinking. Oh, man, if I do 3 catalysts, though, man, it's going to be hard to fulfill that, guys. Remember, I'm working. I work a lot of hours, so I want to make it so, you know, I had some people, it took me a week to get my giveaway. Fucking shut up. Please. Everybody gets their giveaway always. Dirty Air says Jalen all-purpose at 250 plus and pick your own jersey for X amount of turnovers. Yeah, Bird Gang Girl, you waited months for a different reason, though. You didn't wait months for your jersey, Bird Gang Girl. That thing was at your door in 3 days. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. Your Z-Note was on your wall in 3 days, Bird Gang Girl. You waited for the Super Bowl shirt. You waited for the Super Bowl shirt. I added those months later. They were not our crux giveaways last year. I like Jalen Hurts all-purpose, too. All right, let's lock in Jalen all-purpose at 250. Or should we meet in the middle at 275? Because I think he's having a bigger statistical year this year. And I wanted to do 300. And I wanted to do 1 offense, 1 defense. That's what I mean, right? It's a full-time job shipping these things out. Big Trag says, I replaced my kid's graduation photo with my Z-Note. That's hilarious. Hey, I wrote good Z-Notes, Trag. I write good Z-Notes. You got me my daughter's tea very timely. Thanks. You got it, Shady. Appreciate you, brother. I think I sent you out a couple, right? Yeah, that was pretty cool. All right. 275. I don't care about being fair to me. I mean, the bottom line is I'm giving away a lot more jerseys in the Catalyst anyway. But if I get this many catalysts, it's going to limit how many randoms I can do. You know, the randoms are fun. By the way, I'm probably going to use ChatGPT this year maybe to create the giveaway thing. Okay, do you think I can do that? Or is there like an AI you think I could say, all right, I'm doing a giveaway. I want it to be completely random. I want to give you a list. And the thing I like about that is I might be able to put in multiple entries. All right. Cody K, I thought I sent your Super Bowl shirt. Wait a second, brother. Wait a second, Cody K. When did you win it? I got my list here. Thought I sent your shit, Cody K. And remove people who already won. I don't know. I don't want to remove. No, because they're paying members still. Dirty Air, didn't you win multiple times last year? Or no, you won the DeJean black and Kelly green jersey. I remember that. M. Reyes never won. He's fake news in the chat. You guys spreading slander about me in my chat? M. Reyes, don't even think about it, kid. Don't even think about it, M. Reyes. Yo, Reyes, wake up and smell the roses, kid. You would need to have the list. I do have the list. I got the list. Only that fire DeJean. All right, I thought you won multiple now. Saquon all-purpose? Well, that's what we did last year, Chuck. Saquon all-purpose is good, though. It's fun because he's such a captivating player. Such a captivating player. All right, I wanted to do 1 offense, 1 defense. So should we do Saquon or should we do Jalen? Saquon or Jalen? Saquon or Jalen? Dirty Air says Jalen. Ryan says Jalen. HKP says Jalen. Rich says Saquon. Jalen. All right, let's do Saquon. Or no, let's do Jalen. Excuse me. Let's do Jalen. All right, 250 or 275? I know you guys are going to pick 250. I know you guys are going to pick 250. I'll do 250. I want to be generous. I want to give away a lot of jerseys. NG, we're talking about jersey giveaways. We're talking about the catalyst. Last year we had Saquon 125. KCA says 300. Make it harder. 275. 275 was 5 games last year. So if we factor in that he's going to have a bigger year this year, can that get to 10? Can somebody look up for me how many games Saquon Barkley had 125 all-purpose yards last year? Can somebody look up? Yo, Sig Lord, look up how many games Saquon went over 120. Like, how many jersey giveaways did we have last year that were based on solely Saquon reaching the numbers? Does anybody remember? I think it was over 10, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he had 2,500 yards. Thank you, Sig Lord. Let me know. Once we figure that out, I'll figure. SMD says 20. It felt like 20. We gave away a lot more than just that, but. See, Lubins, this is why I want to go 275, because if you pull out the Big Z Book of Revelations and you open it up, I got my little tag right here. You see that? All right. Open it up to where I go. I go to my Big Z bold predictions. Number 1, Jalen Hurts will finish top 3 in MVP voting. So my bold prediction is that Jalen Hurts is going to have a massive year. If I do 250, like that doesn't feel like a massive year to me, all purpose. 250 throwing is good. But 250 all purpose, I feel like 200 yards passing and 50 yards rushing is a light day for Jalen Hurts. I feel like that's a light day. 8 with playoffs. It was 8 with playoffs. Okay. So it was 8 with the playoffs. That's kind of low. That's lower than I thought. I thought it was more than that. I thought it was more than that. Shit, that's kind of low. Nah, 325 is too high. We won't be giving away much. Let's do 275. Let's do 275 for Jalen Hurts, all purpose. Now, I'm going to go under 300. I want to go under 300. Let's go 275 all purpose. Because we said last year he had 11 games of 250 plus all purpose, I think. I think that's what you said, Sig Lord. All right, so 275 all purpose. All right, lock it in. Jalen Hurts, 275 all purpose yards means we give away a Jalen Hurts jersey. Now, you guys know how I get. All right, once we get into October, the start of the season will be different because my jersey guy, it takes him a little bit. Once he gets really into the swing of the season, I'm going to be able to get more jerseys at will. So remember last year, I gave away the least amount of jerseys in September. It will probably be similar this year where we'll give away a lot more jerseys in October, November, December as we get later into the year. So remember that. And I always say, like, if you don't want a Jalen Hurts jersey or you already have a Jalen Hurts jersey, please just tell me. I'll send you another jersey. I mean, that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? I don't want to give you guys a jersey you already have or whatever. I know a lot of people purchased Jalen Hurts jerseys in the last year. All right. Haran says, I can see Jalen going 300. Me too. We're going 275, Chuck. Let's go 275. All right. All right. Let's go 275 for Jalen Hurts. He averaged 286 last year. All right. So his average was above it last year. We're going to lock it in. Ryan says lock it in. Let's lock it in. Lock it in. No, the first giveaway we will have. All right. The first catalyst for giveaways will be Jalen Hurts, 275 plus all-purpose yards. Every time Jalen Hurts goes over 275 all-purpose yards in a game, we will give away a jersey, okay? The jersey will be Jalen Hurts, but if somebody has a Hurts jersey and they want to swap it out, I can do what I can to swap it out. All right, I always try and be lenient to people and give them, you know, what they're going to appreciate the most. I know I switched out a couple jerseys for people last year, and once my guy loads up on jerseys, I'm going to go over there and pick up a bunch. I got to get into that season money, though, guys. I make a lot. You know, our revenues are a lot higher during the season, which I'm sure you obviously are aware. But YouTube doesn't pay until like the month after. So at the end of September, I make my August money. At the end of October, I make my September money. So I need that freaking that season money to hit, folks. All right. Once that season money hits, I'll be able to load up. Now let's do a defensive one. Jalen Hurts, 275 is locked. Now, what's the defensive one? What is the defensive jersey giveaway? Should it be sacks because John hates talking about sacks so much? John hates sacks so much, so it's So it almost – see, I actually kind of like this, Deshae. Defense doesn't allow 17 points. That's is that going to be hard? How many games are they going to give up under 17? How many games last year did they give up under 17? 3 turnovers feels rich to me. That feels like it's too far-fetched. 3 sacks is maybe more likely. 3 sacks, 17-game season, that's 51 sacks. That's not crazy. I think they had 42 sacks last year. I think the Cowboys had 51 sacks last year. So 3 sacks in a game is actually not bad. Forced fumbles, I don't think is a fun enough one. Like, I want it to be a fun one, The defense, Deshae, the reason I like yours is because it's kind of an ongoing thing. Like, they could be in the fourth quarter and give up, you know what I mean? And it could come like late in the fourth quarter. How many games did they give up less than 17 last year? Shady, 20 is probably a better number, honestly. 20 is probably a better number, honestly. 9 times it was 17 or less in the regular. 9 out of 17? 9 out of 17, that's low. That is low. All right, write this shit down. Sig Lord, you're my like bookkeeper, all right? Sig Lord, write it down. Jalen Hurts, 275 all-purpose, giveaway on the channel. Let's lock in the defensive one now. Sig Lord, keep a record of these for me. I got 14 million things going on. What should we do? Under 100 is A lot of people checking in who aren't members. Hey, Lubins, you're not even a member. You're not even eligible for the winner. By the way, people might not know that. All right, so to be eligible for a jersey giveaway on JAKIB Sports, and again, we're going to do a lot of them. I would project over 50 giveaways will commence on the channel this year. Might be more than that. Might be 75 to 100, honestly, depending on how well the season is going, depending on how well Super Chats are flowing, depending on how well our members are up to. All right? In order to win a giveaway on JAKIB Sports, you must be a channel member. Our base membership costs $5, okay? And what I'm doing this year is if you're a family member, you get 2 entries. And if you're a legend member, you get 5 entries. But we will see what happens with it. So you got to be a member. So if you have a gray name in the chat, you're not eligible. You're not eligible. I appreciate you being here, but you're not eligible. All of our members who pay to support the channel will be top of the list, top of the priority list on giveaways. All right? That is who will win our giveaways this year. If you appreciate a good asshole, you got 10 entries. Brian Fleming, you will never let me live that down, will you? $20 is a good point total. Let me look this up. Average points Eagles defense gave up last year. It's a bad Google search. There's you can optimize your Google searches. All right, so last year they gave up 18.1 points per game. 18.1 points per game. Legend members never have to be present. If you're a Legend member and you win, you get your jersey. Legend members are our top of the top supporters. Okay? 19 is a weird number, Matt. I think under 20 might be appropriate. Because remember, the defense lost a lot. So John and Cilio are both projecting a defense that falls out of the top 10 this year. So we'll kind of be able to use it. Give it up, 17 points, bro. Under 20, I kind of like. Here's Dirty Air. 278 yards per game was the average yards allowed last year. That's also how they rank defenses, maybe 275 yards or less. That's not bad, but I kind of like points better. Under 20, 19.5 is hilarious because if you get 20, it's a push or you lose. If we do under 20, what happens if they give up 20? If they get 20, what happens? That's the question. My boy Tony. I think Tony was already a member. Can someone tell me if this was an upgraded membership? Probably an upgraded membership. I think Tony here. See if I can find it on YouTube. Tony upgrades though, a JAKIB family member. Thank you, Tony. Tony's also a member on my ZK's Garage channel. All right. You should send one to the ones that came up with it. Deshay's like, Deshay, you're not even a member, Deshay. Deshay, you're not even a member. What do you think? You drop in a chat and you think that's enough to win a giveaway? I got people financially supporting the channel, Deshay. I got people financially support. You know, Deshay, you know what they say? Oxygen to a small business is cash, brother. It ain't comments, unfortunately. The comments don't deposit at the bank, my friend. The comments don't pay Johnny Mac and Big Sue's. And the editor staff I'm bringing in. And my virtual assistant, who is excellent, by the way. I don't know if she's listening, but she's fucking excellent. She's been really, really helped me on the back end here, getting ready for the season. Really helped me setting up some of the stuff that I needed to set up. So I'm pumped. Oh yeah, Deshay, you told me this. Deshay, you told me you were. I'm not bullying you. I'm just saying you're not eligible here, Deshay. You told me you're saying. What are you saving for? Something. You're saving for something. A house or something. Fleming, I just can't win with you, dude. I can't win with Brian Fleming. So you're saying the defense will be better this year. Yeah, see, that sucks. Let's do under 20. All right, under 20. Lock it in. Under 20. Lock it in. We have now 2 catalysts for jersey giveaways. Jalen Hurts, 275 all-purpose yards. And we give away a jersey. Number 2, if the Philadelphia Eagles defense gives up less than 20 points in a game, we will give away another jersey. And I have a feeling, everybody, get your memberships in right now, because I have a feeling that game 1, both catalysts will be reached. I think game 1, both of them will be hit. Game 1, I think both of them will be hit. Under 20 points, Lamar. Under 20 points. Dirty Air, put it on, or not Dirty Air. Sig Lord, put it on the books. Sig Lord, put it on the books. Those are our 2 catalysts. Now, again, we will give away more jerseys than just that. But I did want catalyst, and I did want something to look forward to. So now we have something to look forward to offensively, and we have something to look forward to defensively. Okay? No. Ryan, it's 20. And if it's 20, fucking look at Lamar. Lamar, this greedy shit. Under 25. What do you want him to be? One of the worst defenses in the league and earn giveaways? You know, Lamar, the whole point is greatness is supposed to be the catalyst for a giveaway. Greatness. That's why we set the Saquon number last year. I think 20 or less. I think if it's 20 on the dot, it's a hit. So, Ryan, you'd be right. 20.5. I think if it's 20 or less, it hits. 20 or less, it hits. Okay. So if the Eagles win 45-20, that's a giveaway. That's a giveaway. Kimberly says, Xander, I tripped my membership and it was showing up the last couple of weeks and now is not. Can you look into it? Kimberly, Kimberly, YouTube doesn't really let me look into it. Like, I don't control the billing. I don't control anything. It's one of the things I don't like, and they take half my memberships. You know, I launched my JAKIB site and I'm optimizing it now. And I set up the same tiers of giveaways over there. And part of me was wondering if I should start telling people to cancel and go and sign up over there because what the fuck? My TV just went off. NFL Network. What the heck? Xfinity box must have reset like it does 14 times a day. Where's my remote? Nobody wants to listen to Manti Te'o. Fucking Manti Te'o hollering at me. Yes, that's 2 giveaways if it's 45-20. Correct. So 20 or less. All right, that's it for the Catalyst. That's it for the Catalyst. That's it for the Catalyst. You know, I was thinking of, so Jason says too many people use YouTube. No, I agree. A-Team, you know what I was thinking of, though? For anybody that is a member, on the site, because I basically I only have a 3% fee on there versus 50% on YouTube. Think about that for a second. 50% fee on memberships is what I'm basically making average right now if you do the numbers. YouTube says they pay 70, but with the Apple tax, Apple takes 30% off the top for anybody that signs on through an Apple device. Brutal. So if you're a member on my website, it's like same cost to the consumer, more money on the back end for the business to be able to invest in the business. You know, what I was thinking of doing was if you're a member on the site, 2x or 3x entries. I know everybody will cry, but guess what? I make the rules. All right? I make the rules. How do I watch if not? No. You would still see that. This is why I don't want to confuse people. You'd still watch on YouTube, Shady. It's not. This is like a written site where I'm gonna write some articles and I'm gonna have John start writing some articles. The site is jakibsports.com. All right. But I don't want to confuse people. We're not going down that road yet. All right. We're not going down that road yet. See, this is interesting. If it's 20 do hats or something smaller, it's not a bad idea. 956 becomes a member. Thank you, 956 Eagles, for becoming a member. You are officially entered into the JAKIB jersey giveaways this year. I'm ready to rock, man. If you become a legend on the site, yes, that counts, Siglord. All members from the site will be included in giveaways. Absolutely. And if you're a member in both spots, you're getting double added. And I don't give a shit what anybody has to say. Double financial support of the channel means you double your entries on the giveaway front. Okay? Now, it's not a need, though. Okay? If you're a member here on YouTube, you're safe. You're in the giveaway. Okay? If you're a member on YouTube, you're in the giveaway. If you're a member on YouTube, you are entered into the giveaway. I'm not changing that to this late. That's unfair. If you're already a member here, you're good. You're entered in. I promise you. You're already entered in. So 956 entered into the giveaway, no matter what. I just know I got some P1s who will be like, yo, I'll support you on the site because it's more for you, you know. Not everybody thinks like that, though. Most people just want the ease of whatever's easiest for them, which is fine. YouTube it's ridiculous how much money they take. But again, I wouldn't be able to talk to you guys if I didn't have YouTube. So I don't have much leverage. You know, I got to appreciate YouTube. Yeah. SMD 50 almost because of Apple. It's really because of Apple. YouTube pays out 70% for super chats and memberships. But Apple, whenever you use an Apple device to send a super chat, which most of our super chats come from Apple, and memberships, they take 30% before YouTube. So in other words, you send a $10 super chat before YouTube takes their split. Apple takes 30%. So now YouTube takes 70%, or YouTube takes 30% of $7 instead of 10. I end up with like $5. It's about 50%. Crazy. But again, the reason I'm talking to you right now, SMD, is because of YouTube. So I can sit here and whine about it, or I can appreciate the platform for what it's given me. I got to kind of view it like that. That's why Apple sucks. Yeah, it does. Akbar blows ass. But Akbar, by the way, is that my boy Akbeezy Fashizi back in the mix? What's up, my boy Akbar? Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate you, Akbar. No, Akbar, it's good service. But well, Kimberly, if you're on the site, so it's important to note this. Kimberly says she's going to go through the site because her YouTube one's not working. If you're on the site and you're a member, you're entered. If you're on YouTube and you're a member, you're entered. All right? Anybody that's a member that financially supports JAKIB Sports on a monthly basis is entered into the jersey giveaways. If it's here, if it's on the site. If you're a member on both, guess what? You're getting double entry. And nobody's going to tell me that that's not happening. I don't give a shit. It's not fair. He won 3 times. I don't give a shit. He's a member on both spots. All right? That's how it's going to be this year. That's how it's going to be. So we will see. We'll see how it shakes out. All right? No, that's not how it went, Ryan. I think it was Brian. It wasn't Cash App either. It was Venmo. Brian Fleming, you just got called out, my boy. Brian Fleming called out. No, it wasn't creepy. What do you mean? I took it. I think he sent me $150 if I'm not mistaken. And I took the $150. I walked right to my guy and I purchased the jersey and gave it away on the channel. So it was dope. It was dope. Link for the site is jakibsports.com. jakibsports.com. All right, everybody. Love all you guys. Appreciate everybody. 956, thanks for becoming a member. Tony, thanks for upgrading to a family member. Dirty Air, thank you for your super chats today, brother. Brian Fleming, thank you. Brian Pumper, Bird Gang, Anwan, JD3, Big Marshall checked in. Prince Swayze checked in. Sammy Livingston, Jason A-Team, and Luchito Verde. Thank you all for the support today. HKP, thanks for being a member, brother. M. Reyes, appreciate you, brother. M. Reyes says, let me make the new wheel. M. Reyes, if you want to make it, make it. Go ahead. All right. Roll Tide, go Birds. Dr. Philly, don't get me started. We hired a stiff who said, let me take the greatest college coach in the history of college football and rid his program of everything that made it successful. Do not get me started right now on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Do not get me started on Kalen DeBoer. Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, let me just take the greatest college coach in the history of college football, take all the core pillars that he built this program on, and just say, fuck them all. What are you, dumb or stupid? What are you, dumb or stupid, Kalen DeBoer? I don't get that. I just do not get that. I do not understand that. And by the way, the worst part about it, Dr. Philly, is this. Ready? The most successful program in the SEC right now, is run by Kirby Smart, who worked under Nick Saban, and instead of being dumb and stupid like DeBoer is, said, I'm going to take his exact blueprint, do it my way, but institute the same philosophies, and look what's happened at the University of Georgia. I mean, it's like common sense as uncommon as it feels. You're making $12 million to be a coach. This shouldn't be that hard. This shouldn't be. I mean, okay, if we have different philosophy of the game, that's fine. If you approach things, okay, fine. But why would you change the core tenets that made Alabama? I just don't get it. And then again, you look over at Georgia and you're like, wait, why are they successful? Oh, Kirby Smart took a page out of Nick Saban's book. Can't fix stupid. Can't fix stupid. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I'm not happy about it either. But I don't get it. I really don't fucking get it. All right. Now, before I go here today, I got an email just now, and I must thank the legendary Gary Sexton. Dirty Air. Check it in. He became a legend member on the JAKIB Sports website. Thank you, Dirty Air. You have increased my profit margin by 50%. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Dirty Air. I might be doubling up on the site members. Gary, by the way, I already put in the text to the guy. I'm talking to him once I get off the show. So I'll text you today, bro. I will keep you posted as early as possible so you know the setup for you. All right. We have to watch out for South Carolina too. We'll see. I'm not really as bought in on them yet. Yeah, Brian Fleming, it was a joke. Unmotivated and gator arming cat. You guys know what I was doing last night? I was watching clips of Nick Saban's old press conferences. That's what I was doing. One came up on my Twitter feed, and then I loaded up one of the Alabama pages that I follow on Twitter because I love following the Alabama football fan pages. And he had all these old videos of Nick Saban. And I'm listening to this guy at the press conference, and I'm like, holy shit, I miss him. Because you listen to, I don't know who heard, any Alabama fans, Dr. Philly, I assume you're an Alabama fan. I don't know if you heard Kalen DeBoer get asked about, he said that the team had a great week of preparation, and then he got asked about it, and he's like, wait, I said that? I'm like, bro, he just didn't sound good. It's not good. I don't think it's very good in Bama. And we got a $70 million buyout for this guy. Oh, gosh. Please fire that defensive coordinator, too. What a joke that guy is. Oh, my goodness. Unfortunate for our Crimson Tide. My thing. Still one of the most beautiful stadiums, though, in all of college football. Let me turn off the blur. Still one of the most beautiful stadiums. Look at that. That's a fun place to be. All right. Bama had a good run. Yeah, Akbar, it's done for a little bit for sure, man. It's done for a little bit for sure. All right. Z's ADD asked. Big Mike, you know it's there, brother. It's not changing either. It's not changing. All right. It's not changing. No, Matt Dio, I want your head coach in Alabama. That's who I want. I'm never rooting for the dorky-ass Clemson Tigers. But I want Dabo Swinney, who played, by the way, his college ball. Where? At the University of Alabama. Come on home. I like Dabo. I like Gruden, too. Gruden would be cool. Gruden would bring back kind of the lure, you know? He would bring back the lure. The Tar Heels, they got their ass beat last night, didn't they? That's pretty funny. All right, love all you guys. I want to thank everybody for all the support, man. You guys are really the best. I'm excited for the season. We're like 2 days and 9 hours away from the start of the year. I'm excited for the giveaways. I'm excited for the memberships. I'm excited for all the people who are here. I'm excited to watch this season unfold because you're looking at it and you're like, everything feels like it's in front of us again. I feel like this team has everything it needs. Now, it's going to be a process. You got to remember how the beginning of the season worked out last year. I think this team is in a good position and they got good players. They have players with upside, and I think they're ready to rock, man. I think they're ready to rock. So I'm super pumped about it. Again, thanks everybody for being here. Thank you for all your support. As always, means a lot to me, means a lot to the channel. It's the reason we keep going. So thank you so much for being here. Thanks to all of our members. Thanks to all of our super chatters. Thanks to everybody who takes a minute of their day to watch here on JAKIB Sports. You mean the world to me. Thank you very much. I will see you guys next time. Got a busy day ahead of me. Let me get to work. Love all you guys. See you next time, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365. the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.